I was going to say, yeah, because I like the roll, but if you can't.
Yeah.
But go get them.
Huge move in the Nasdaq.
Huge move. And you guys go to the midday.
Boom! Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm happy to have you back, bro. I'm happy to have you back, bro. That's your boy, Joey Options, and I'm Sharif. And yes, it's a good day because your boy, Joey freaking Options is back. And who do we have in the chat? We got Darwin, the trader. We got a proper gang paradox in Pillsbury. Keep it simple. For me and Juan Padilla, Bob the Builder, and Beacon. Shout out to Gin Vesting and Derek. Quadruple Ones, Jay Haas, ATX, and Oscarito joining us as well. Phil, also for South Chai. I like that. Mr. Easy Street, and who else, man? BD Gaming. We got Sid Hearth, Daniel Mamoto. All right, Mr. Leahy and Stuart ID. We got Derek Thompson and 420 Bud Monster joining us from jolly old England. Shout out to my man. We got Rook78 and Yannick, Gabby, Frigo, Echo Max, and Ja El Press. Shout out to Hangry Wife and Green Day Dean, Echo Max, and Buffalo Soldier joining us as well. Joe, we got K Lexi, BK Lemons, one more. We got Zach Bobek. Shout out to Zach Bobek. First time I'm reading your name. Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a fantastic trip. You look very much rested and relaxed. But, Joey, you look rested and relaxed.
Do I?
You look fantastic. The issue is, though, you weren't really rested and relaxed.
Not whatsoever, man. What an insane. Listen, I'm all about adventures. I love adventures. But yesterday was planes, trains, and automobiles. It was absolutely insane. What a mission to get from Chicago back to Toronto. But we're back. We're ready. We're beautiful. And we're ready to start cooking up, guys. And I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. It is most definitely, I'm happy to be back. But guess what? I love Chicago. It is an amazing, amazing city. I'm really happy that we went there and we went through that. But never mind any of that. We're back into some Ethereum to see if we can get some of this trades going. I mean, just thrown right into the fire here, guys. But fantastic stuff, Sharif. And over the weekend, I'm just looking at Bitcoin and in the crypto space, and I'm like, oh my days. We're prepared to sell off, but oh well.
So we're talking Chicago, and now we're going to talk a little New York.
Ooh, little New York, yeah. Oh, yeah, we were
got our very good friend Jeff Mendl out from OTC Exchange. Thanks, Jeff, for being on. Good morning to you, first of all. How's everything going out in NYC?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me again, too, man.
Good to see you again, Jeff. So right off the bat today, we get a lot of Chinese EVs reporting. You got your XPEVs, NEOs. They're all through the roof, Jeff. So right away, what comes to mind when I hear Chinese EVs, and you probably are of the same thing as well, BYD. Oh, my goodness. What is going on with this? Because I remember BYDDY, Jeff, and BYDDF had two different prices. Now they're basically the same thing. One's trading at $14.53, the other one at $14.64. So I'm assuming one engaged in a reverse split.
No, so BYDDF is the actual share that's traded on the local exchange, and BYDDY is an ADR, and so that is that's being it's an unsponsored ADR, right? So it is being held by one of the ADR banks. I don't know off the top of my head which one it is, but basically it's a depository receipt of the actual shares being held by a bank, and then that makes it so people can go in and buy and sell as a security that's held in DTC in the U.S., whereas the BYDDF is just that local share being held locally, and so it's typically retail investors seem to have better access for the ADR version of that, whereas maybe institutions are holding the actual local share on that. Lots of stuff thrown out right there, but a good way to think about it is a lot of times Canada and the U.S. they're all F shares because there's a connection between the clearing firm or between the depositories there, and so usually Canada and the U.S. see a lot of F shares in retail trading, whereas the rest of the world you do see that more and more now, but also the ADR is typically though slightly more
I want to bring up another favorite on the OTC exchange, Luckin Coffee. Jeff, we don't have them here in Canada, but I'm hearing that Luckin Coffee's opening up aggressively in New York City, popping up like, every other block or so. And the price chart here on LKNCY, you got a great hold off that 200 moving average back in July, or this is the weekly chart of LKNCY, but you've been getting a nice little uptrend there since basically May, July of last year. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Luckin Coffee, I think it was a Nasdaq D-list, right? I think it was trading at around $4 when it came down here, and so now it's trading up close to I think it's almost got up to 40 a few times here. So it is a very active name. It's always heavily traded, always up there on our website on the most active securities. LKNCY, and like I said, I have not been to one yet in New York, but definitely going to have to try it out.
Absolutely. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Good morning. So you can see that we're in the dog days of summer here, and the cyclical effects of the market. Are we going to see those kind of sell-offs that we're experiencing in the Nasdaq and the S&P in some of these OTC names?
Listen, not speaking in any particular direction here, right? Most of the names that we always look at here are listed on national exchanges, right? And so a lot of these names are names that are, some of the bigger ones that are traded on those, right? And so, it's typical, right? It's there's trends, there's overall market sentiment. Looking at any one individual name, it's like, when we talk about BYD, we're talking about, NEO. We're talking about names that are all listed on NASDAQ and putting it side by side there. Yes, it trades on the over-the-counter market, but it's still an equity. It still has, retail investors, institutional investor bases there, and they're buying and selling accordingly, right alongside what's going on in NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you about the OTC Moon. We know a lot of the exchanges are looking to go 24/5 or whatever it's going to be. Basically, overnight trading is really being pushed now, whether you basic on Blue Ocean or what. How's OTC Moon going so far?
So Moon right now, we're getting the market data out there to participants. We're getting new people connected, right? Because every time that a new venue pops up, you need to go through, and there's a whole process that goes on behind the scenes of getting people actually to the point where if you send an order in your retail brokerage account, or if you send an order on your front end system, if you're a professional trader, right? Everything on the back end needs to get connected. And now we're getting to that point where all the players and everyone is getting connected. We should start to see volumes tick up in September here, right? We're almost at the end of August. So really a lot to look forward to. If you look at the overall overnight marketplace, there's I think it's averaging a couple to a few $1 billion nightly. That's size. Like, that's a lot of people trading.
Okay, last question I have, and then I'll pass it to Joey. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we've heard a lot about the government wanting to basically divest ownership in this, move it on. Is there a specific process that they got to go through, Jeff, through the exchange?
So I think I lost you there when I was talking about Moon, but I heard Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So these things are going absolutely, these things are trading a ton right now. There's to go through the process to actually IPO and go up to an exchange, right? It's going to keep trading on OTC markets until that point, right? And so if it does or if it doesn't, right, we don't know totally yet, but you will be able to buy and sell Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac up until that point. There's also, preferred shares of those things as well too.
Right.
FNMAS is a pretty popular one to trade. But I mean, I think it wasn't too long ago that these things were trading, at like $2, maybe even under $1. Now,
right.
I'm looking at Fannie Mae. It's it's down a couple percent today, but it's over $11, right? So great place to, great names to kind of look at if you're a day trader, right? Just overall in general, keep an eye out on the news coming out of the White House right now in these names, because there's going to be a lot more activity.
Yeah, you're going to feel like there's that deregulatory push. Jeff, I won't put you on the spot or anything, but yeah, thanks for coming on, Jeff. Head of broker-dealer sales at the OTC Markets, Jeff Mendl from New York, and a good friend of the show. Thanks for coming on, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Real quick, dude, what's going on with this new studio?
Oh. I don't know if you can see the background because we're on that 3-shot. So, Jeff, obviously it didn't look this way when you were here, but it's we call this the chasm, the abyss, because it's dark as hell, in case you haven't noticed. But that whole thing, Jeff, I'm sure you already know, that's going to be a big digital board. So we're super pumped about it. But yeah, it's nice to have all the construction going on while you're trying to do the show. I mean, I can't think of anything better.
Well, I mean, we can tell them what's going on here, but it'd be much better if you just came, Jeff, and you could see it for yourself. So
well said, Joseph.
Bearing gifts as well.
Every time I come up there's something new. There's a new addition making the show better. I'm sure this one is just going to be outrageously awesome. Boom. Right? Like I said. So looking forward to seeing it.
Thanks, Jeff. Cheers. Thanks for coming on, brother. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
There he is, baby. Jeff Mendl from New York City. New York City.
Yeah, brother. I mean, here we are. We're in some Ethereum once again. I like what I'm seeing, Strafe. We're diving right back into it, into the thick of things. But here it is, a nice indecision print right at these lows on ETHA. And I mean, we were trading as high as $4,800, and now we're back down to around 43, 42. So this has been a pretty hefty pullback that we're experiencing. And there has been those signals throughout this whole process, right? This is a topping signal. So what we want to see is something along those lines at the lower end of the spectrum. So once we can get that turnaround in those turnaround signals, we might be back off to the races here in Ethereum, but also look at the volume really starting to pick up as well too, guys. So just keep that in mind. We're going to hold on to this trade right now for as long as we possibly can. This is going to be this is attempt number 2, but I like the odds significantly more here. So we're going to keep an eye out on this. Hold on, let's pull it up. And then you know what we're going to do. If this signal holds up, we're going to continuously add to this position. We see it on the 5-minute time frame as well. So there it is. Lower time frame, higher time frame, that's just going to stack our odds in our favor. And then once we break through some key resistance zones, off to the races we go once again. But I'm looking at some options chain. One thing with NVDA, I've noted that there has been a drastic amount of size removed through that concentration of what we were talking about last week, 185, when we were seeing over 150,000, 160,000 contracts. But now that's starting to cool off. But guess what?
What?
This Thursday, we get the big boy report.
Oh, I like it. I like it. It's yeah, it's going to be the earnings party. Obviously, guys, make sure to join us on the market recap show. Neil, is Thursday your day or Katina's? Katina. So it'll be myself, Adara, and Sean all in the market recap show. It's going to be a big boy report. So get ready for that. All right, guys, here's the deal. We're in GXAI, as Neil told you guys before the big boy show ended, and we're long at 95s, and we scalped up all the way into 18s. Here's the deal, though. I have an order to buy more at the volume weighted average price. We're still holding a piece, and it's done well so far, but as you can see, this area where we're scalping out is a lower high. So the high of the day is 243, and this ends up being a lower high. Alas, it is also putting in higher lows. So I'm less inclined to feel that GXAI is looking to flat bottom break through this volume weighted average price $2 area. I'm less inclined to think that. That doesn't mean that it's not possible. Why do I feel that way? Because it's not one flat area support that it keeps coming down to and then making lower highs. In fact, if you look at this area where I got in, that 1045 area, the low there was 90s, and then it's 94s. And then it's 95s, and now we're doing 2s. So it's higher lows, but it's also lower highs above the volume weighted average price. So what I've done is I put an order here to defend the volume weighted average price. I put it at 91s. I think volume weighted average price is at 91s or 92s now, hard to see, so I should probably move that up in order to ensure a fill. But ideally, what I'm looking for here is a continuation of that higher high pattern. The only way to get that is to print something above that 20 penny area. So that's what I'm waiting for right now. GXAI, it's the best looking small cap gapper in the market for the moment. But there are others. Maybe they're not as big percentage winners on the day, but they're there. I'm talking about Riri. Shout out to Rihanna or whatever everybody's calling her. Shout out to Riri. R-E-R-E, this one. Why can I hear her from here, bro? She was supposed to move away so I wouldn't be able to hear her anymore, but I can still hear her.
Just terrorizing.
I love her, bro. And now she's in my ear, bro. She got access to... Ram Ram's a menace to society. Oh, boy. 482, though, Joey. By the way, what happened to your sweater? Somebody was cold this morning, so I'm like, let me get Joey's sweater.
Yeah.
And then so it wasn't there.
What happened to it?
I don't know.
Ram has it.
Ram Ram took the sweater. Ram Ram, why are you taking this man's sweater, bro?
Crazy.
That's crazy, Ram Ram.
Crazy. Oh,
yeah. We saw you with Dara.
What happened there,
You're
with Dara?
such a goody two-shoes, bro. She's gonna rat me out.
She did.
She's gonna rat me out. Of course I did it, man. Of course I did.
Yeah, this is a Jordan thing.
And Dara, you gave me the look through the camera. I felt guilty. All right, get it, Dara. We're having a good time. No, seriously though. So RE 482 high. Joey, it's holding the 10 moving average on the 5 really well. The volume is also decent. The spread is respectable. The only issue with this is you're not getting much of a notional. It's a 422 low, and we're taking out 482 as we speak. We're only up 9.09%. So it's not exactly a rocket ship, okay? But it does hold the moving average, which is important to me. That means I can discern the trend. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on. MSTZ and PLTZ, these are inverse ETFs of Palantir and Strategy. So I'm not interested in trading these. I just put them on there because they're cheaper and they showed up on my scanner. Dara's at the big desk.
Yeah, keep an eye here on crypto, I guess. Apparently, we're going to get comments from SEC Chair Paul Atkins today about Project Crypto, which is what the SEC is working on, at the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium. So it looks like this is around the same time as Jackson Hole, in the same location as Jackson Hole. I looked up last year. Tim Scott was there last year, so it is kind of a who's who in terms of the, I guess, political or higher up side of who's involved with crypto. Again, SEC Chair Paul Atkins is expected to discuss Project Crypto at the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium today. I can't find much info on this, but if there is any kind of stream, you guys know I'll be watching that. Back to you.
Joey, can I just give him one more ticker? Because this one just came up on my purview right now. Shout out to Beef Strogie in the chat for pointing this one out. BSLK, this is a former runner. We saw this one run last week. Remember, on the 13th, this one got parabolic, basically jumping from 3.25 all the way up to 17. It had another move 2 days later on the 15th, much more subdued move, and as you can see, higher lows, but also lower highs. Today, we're having an even more subdued move. Higher lows as well, but also lower highs. This one is a bit spready. Look how it's trading from down into 70s, popping up into 90s, quick as you like. It's up 26%. It's got the goods. And an obvious level here of resistance at 9. Let's throw in the ticker there super quick so you guys can follow along. The ticker is BSLK. We're definitely going to be looking at this one, but I'm already kind of displeased with the spread. If it can tighten up a little bit here, maybe we can get on this one. But for the moment, Joey, going to keep my eye on it and look for a setup.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So yeah, here we are. We'll talk a little bit about that after, but here it is. We're adding into this Ethereum position already, and then we're also long TQs. Why, guys? It's the same stuff that we're looking for all the time, and this is what I was referring to earlier on Ethereum's daily. But now we're just going down to a lower time frame and looking at it from an intraday perspective. Here it is, a nice bottoming signal. You can see sellers push price all the way back down and push it back up, closing that 5-minute print as a hammer candle, and this is what we're trying to identify. So we're long, extremely small size, just to get kind of our gears rolling once again and the feel of things, but this is what we got going. VWAP is going to be the primary target, but the thing is, what I've noticed yesterday was a little choppy when I was just looking at some tickers, and then this morning we're getting a bit of a sell-off. So I'm going to suspect it's going to be more of a grind in order for us to start to hit those targets. And this is also what I want us to take a look at. This is we did a poll and we just asked a bunch of traders, is this sustainable? And the answer was no, 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 absolutely not for all the veterans out here. Yeah, exactly. So now it's going to break. It has broke. And then watch out for the vigor and watch it may, right? So you can, if it starts to really pick up momentum and speed, be careful because you can experience a 15-20% pullback from some of these highs. And let's take a percentage metric on exactly what we're down off of this 559 high right here. 8% already, guys, right? So 8.5%. So watch out for a little bit more deeper of a pullback. And if Microsoft decides that it wants to, guess what it's going to drag down with it?
What?
The Nasdaq. The Nasdaq, even though holding up relatively strong, watch out. You're going to want to aim for some key support levels just in case we run into them. But hey, this is going to be a beautiful opportunity, I think, to get involved in some more names. I was telling Sharif, I sold a little bit of my Ethereum position yesterday. Well, guess what? Now we get to buy it back at a lower price when it does want to turn around and when we are looking for those specific signals. So that's game plan for that. And here it is. It's starting to work out for us right now, especially on that ad. So we'll trim just a little bit just in case. Actually, no, we're going to diamond hands this because I'm feeling that type of way. Just came back from UFC, so you know how we're feeling over there. But no, a pretty good look. A couple attempts it took for us to get going, but this is why you get out and then get right back when you're supposed to. And then when you have signals identified like this, that's when you have the ability to add into these positions. And shout out to Gore because he's like, Joe, I've been doing this. He's like, I've been adding into my winners and they just make them substantially larger. And the thing is, you just don't add for the sake of adding. You want the thesis to start working out. And then when you do, that obviously trails your stop as well too, because you don't want to be putting on more size and holding on to the same stop loss, because that can make your 1 R loss a 2 or a 2.5 R loss. So essentially what happens is when you're adding into these positions, you trail that stop, and if it hits it, you have to get out. But believe me, there's always other opportunities to get involved in some of these names.
All right, we've just weaseled in to BSLK. I'm trying to set up some dip trades at 75s over here. Scalped out into that high of the day, just missing that high of the day by 2 pennies, 9.23. Here we go, moving right back into that $9 area. I'm not sure why it punched me out over here. There we go. There we go. We're right back in. There we go. We got 94s on now. Let's look to scalp up some into that $9 area. It did breach the previous area high, which was like 9 and change. I think that now the 9.25 is the high of the day. I'd like to see this 9.75, 9.70 area hold based upon this area of previous resistance. I'm talking about that 870, 875, and here we go, pumping up, taking out some orders now into the 9s. Here we go, we're showing 8s. Let's scalp out some over here. Look, there's a huge seller at 8. We can't shake the seller at 8. That's bizarre. Let's take out some more, but he just got decimated right into the high, a new high a day into 927s. We got 94 ons and we have shares. So let's take out some more here. Let me just load up my screen so I don't take out too much too quickly. Good trade here as we make another high into 37s. We'll wet the beak here as well, and now we're going to set up some in the mid 40s. Let's go ahead and wait at 45, and then north of that, we're going to be waiting at 55. All right, so that's the deal. BSLK is on a rampage to the high side right now, but it is a spready one and a volatile one. So be ready for the pullbacks. It doesn't mean that you get stopped out on the pullback, especially if we're trading above key technical levels. That might be the ad area. Not telling you how to trade, just telling you what to be on the lookout for. So some resistance coming in now in the 20 penny area. We'll see if we can get that continuity above the high of the day. Again, that is 937. I posted here at 45s and then 55s. The deal is anything below 890 gets me out of the trade. But here we go, Joseph Wilson. Oh, we came into 40 and then we couldn't clear it. All right, so another high of the day, but we don't take out my order there. Maybe we get it on another attempt. Let's take that opportunity to throw in the stop. There we go. So we'll throw our stop in at 88, and here's 40 again, and the selling coming in at 40 again. You feel though, just me up my boom. into the high side. There we go. That's almost $1 right there. Not quite. We take it out at 60. We ended up getting in at 80, so not quite the dollar, but that would have been $1. And there it goes through 10. Joseph, it is going to halt at $10 on the dot. Be careful. We need a few more seconds at this level with this price in order to halt. Keep your eye, though, on the level, or sorry, not the level, the time in sales. There we go. It's 11:26:01. Add 5 minutes onto that. That will be the first opening print. So there you go. BSL Dan K into the high. Now we got to go back to the other one that we're trading, Joey, because we just got some right now at GXAI at the volume weighted average price. And now we have 91s on. So let's go ahead and post over here for some beak wetters. And you better believe anything below 88 gets me out of this trade. We're not going to give back shares like we did yesterday on this, so we'll go ahead and throw in that stop, and now we're going to wait to see whether GXAI can work its way back above the volume weighted average price and into the highs. Joey, tell them what you're looking at, baby.
Yeah, we're cooking up here on Ethereum, and the Qs are starting to work for us there, guys. We'll trim a little bit more right here, but there it is, just like that, guys. Starting to climb higher and higher, and this is exactly what we want to see. We'll post up, see if we can catch that fill a little bit north of where we just took our last little partial. Qs starting to rebound as well, too. I talked about that signal, and if we see it across the board on multiple names, best believe I like my chances. So there it is, bang, you just catch that fill, just like that.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail right away. Good thing we didn't end up in jail in Chicago. That's not what I would have wanted, and then I wouldn't have been here today. I probably would not have survived in a Chicago jail, but that is okay. We're not going to worry about that whatsoever. But here it is on the TQs, starting to fire it up as well, guys. So, I mean, bang. Just like that, we're starting to cook, and this is exactly what we're trying to do and show you guys. Obviously, Katina Man, Neil, and Sharif, always day in, day out is what we love, essentially. So, bang, there it is, TQs. I don't know if we do get all the way back to VWAP, but I like my chances considering Apple's moving that way, and I'm just going across the Meg 7. This is what I always talk about, is that when I'm in the futures, as Sean likes to call them, or the overall market using this leverage ETF, I have to keep my eye on the big boys at all times, because if they're not climbing higher, then I don't like my chances, and I'm not going to be moving and trading off of hopium. I want to put as much probability in my favor. So I'm going to take a little bit off just because of the weakness of this market, and then I'll leave the rest just to maybe we'll hit target on that one. So there it is. TQ's cooking up, and it's a late entry as well too, guys. Keep that in mind. I didn't see it till later, so essentially I'm in around this neck of the woods, 571.42. But you want to play the break of this candle, or if you see price hold this low, this is when you can start building your positions right here. So that's a pretty good look. Volume still relatively cool, but anything can happen. I mean, we're pulling back. Now we can get a nice rebound potentially in the overall market, all right? So I didn't even run my scans yet this morning. I'm like, I got to just see what Ethereum and the Qs are up to here today. So what I want to do is I want to run some scans to see if we have any extremely high outlying volume. I know INTC has most definitely been in play. We'll be talking about that later.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not looking too bad, holding up relatively well, but we're getting a lot of volume across the board. So INTC has 176 million shares traded on today's session so far. So that's big time shareage right there. And BMNR, what's our friend BMNR been up to here on the daily, Sharif? I'm
getting crushed.
Yeah, just been absolutely getting crushed. But I mean, it went from $32 to $73 in a span of a trading week. So that's 100% return. I'm not surprised that we're going to probably see somewhat of a lofty pullback. But once again, once Ethereum moves to the northeast, then I think BMNR is going to most definitely follow it.
All right. Adira is at the big
Crypto.
desk. She's got crypto.
We have a couple different things to talk about in the crypto space. I'm going to kind of split them into half. So let's start with SoFi. We know we had a couple different pieces of news in the fintech space, some of which were not crypto related, like Robinhood's announcement here of expanding into the football prediction market. But let's talk about SoFi, because this announcement actually involves the blockchain. SoFi Technology is going to be announcing a partnership with Lightspark, through which they will be launching a blockchain-enabled international money transfers. It'll be a Lightning Network here. The Bitcoin Lightning Network will allow for cross-border transactions. We talked about it a lot on this show, and just in general, how crypto and stablecoins can really hopefully be used to allow for international money transfer. So this could be a really exciting look here for SOFI. Apparently, they're also one of the first banks to kind of do this. So good look for SoFi. I want to mention as well, and this will transition to our next story, Bloomberg reporting that Wyoming is becoming the first U.S. state to launch their own stablecoin. So here is BTC. We're just going to transition to the Wyoming story here. Bitcoin falling pretty aggressively here from that most recent all-time high that we reached last week, just below that 125,000 level. Right now, we're trying to hold on to 114,000. As I've mentioned before, the previous all-time high around 112,000 would be pretty key support for Bitcoin to hold. So today, in terms of Wyoming, the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium 2025 is going to be on watch. I haven't found much information on it. I'm not really sure how or if I can stream it, but of course, if that possibility exists, you guys know we'll be covering that live for you. But the reason this is important is because the new SEC Chair, Paul Atkins, is set to discuss the SEC's Project Crypto at this event. This could certainly be market moving, and I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll certainly keep you guys posted. Back to you.
Dara, we need more information on that Wyoming token thing.
I have no info.
Yeah, I know, but like I saw it on CNBC, and the first thing that came to my mind, Dara, what are we going to have, like state currencies? Ontario going to have their own currency next to there? Your boy Big Dougie going to start minting currency? What's going on?
I can just picture that.
He is.
I would love to see his little face on a coin.
Hello, friend.
If we can find out what chain they built that on, then I think that's gonna be.
Well, we can find out probably pretty easy.
Really quick. I think that's really important to know, right? Because obviously who's gonna benefit from it, and we talked about Tom Lee and what he's doing, but it's just the yield. It's the beautiful thing about Ethereum's yield and just providing obviously regulatory security to the network, especially when you're staking your coins, or your tokens. I guess Ethereum is a token, but at the end of the day, here it is. TQs. We're gonna post up right here to see if we can catch this fill. We're north of some resistance zone, so I think we can kind of grind higher right there, which is positive. But then we also been just doing what we do on Ethereum.
Bang.
Taking some off here. We enter, so this was trade number 1. We get stopped out. Well, guess what? I still like it. And just a little liquidity grab right here. Indecision print at the lows. Holds those levels. We add into it. And then sure enough, we're just slowly starting to piece them out. And then we did run into just below the volume weighted average price. And what I'm seeing right here is not the best. But I like our chances to just grind and touch that, especially if the overall market decides that it wants to participate right now, Sharif.
All right. Shout out to Bovin again, as always. So I'll get to BSLK in a second. It looks like it's zigging and zagging through $10. But there's another small cap gapper that's weaseled its way onto the scene. It's got a whole bunch of S's in its ticker, so make sure you're typing it right because I already typed it wrong a bunch of times. SSYS on the NQ, up 14 1/3, and look at that top break through the $0.50. So obviously it looked like the closing prints were all rejecting that 10 1/3, but there was one measly print over here right at the implied balance open at 9:30 that took us into 10:40, and so we were resisting that level. Then the explosion came vis-a-vis the volume right at, I want to say, 11:20, breaking through that 10.5 and on the way into 10 3/4 right now. So you've got a lot of strength in SSYS, Adira.
I looked here more into this Wyoming coin thing. It is worth noting here, United States Senator Cynthia Loomis, who is very pro-crypto. She's actually from Wyoming. I just Googled that to clarify or just to confirm for myself because I was pretty sure that was a thing. So it is maybe not super surprising that the state with one of the most pro-crypto senators actually gets the stablecoin. But here's the details, again, reported by Bloomberg. Wyoming actually last year said they were interested in issuing their own stablecoin. This stablecoin is going to be the Frontier stablecoin, ticker FRNT. It'll be backed by dollars and short-term treasuries. It's going to be tracking the U.S. currency 1-for-1. Now, apparently the Wyoming stable token commission, which I didn't even realize existed, will be working with Layer Zero. So Layer Zero is the issuer here for these tokens, and apparently the coins are going to be over-collateralized by about 2%. And I want to mention here, too, where it's going to be available. That'll be the Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Ethereum, Optimism, Polygon, and Solana blockchains. So here is a quick update. I apologize, I don't have tons of details, but that's the quick look here, according to Bloomberg, on this Wyoming stablecoin. Back to you.
Great reporting, Adara. Fantastic as always.
Yeah,
it's really interesting to know. Joey, I'm having trouble understanding the reason behind wanting to tokenize on a state-by-state level. We're going to need to understand a little bit more about this. Not that I'm complaining, Build it on the ETH network, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what
Build it on the ETH.
right?
But yeah, I mean, what am I going to go to Wyoming? Like, hey, I want some Wyoming issued stablecoins and just spend that currency in there. Which, by all means, teach Joan. If they want to do it, by all means, do what you want to do. I think it's just greater for the adoption of what we're experiencing right now. And this is what I was talking about: a shift into digitalizing everything, and we're living in it at the utmost, right? Like the AI trade, everything along those lines. So the more, the merrier, in my opinion.
All right, guys, I'm trying to work into SSYS over here. It's at the day's high. I hate punching in at the day's high. It certainly did not work out well for me yesterday. So I'm just gonna, look, if I miss the trade on SSYS, and I missed the trade, but I took a shellacking yesterday on trades that I typically wouldn't make. Put it that way, and I won't make them today. So I will let that feeling fester in the back of my mind so that I do not make those mistakes again. So we'll see if this one wants to come down into 10.5, 1045, that level that we were talking about, the breakout level, fantastic. But I'm not punching in at highs. It's my story. I'm sticking to it. Let's go back to BSLK over here quickly, because this one's still holding generally that $10 area. So I'm looking at the top chart over here on the 5-second to discern trend. And as you can see, the trend here on the 5-second, at least anyway, a second ago, it was consolidative. Then all hell broke loose, and it printed a new high a day. So 1065 now, the new high a day, 1069.77. Here's the breakout again on BSLK. Are we getting a micro pullback? And another move back into highs. Let's punch in here at the $0.50. Let's see if we can get up a little bit more. Anything below 10 1/3 gets me out. So let's go down over here and put that right in so that we don't get shellacked, okay? Let's go ahead and wait, though. We're going to wait at the $0.50, and then above the $0.50, we're going to wait a little bit higher. There we go. We get a nice little print. Let's see if we can get something in the 60s. Anything below that $0.25 gets me out. Simple as that. There's a seller here at 42s, and there was a monster order that just came in on the buy and absolutely decimated him.
Wow.
Get out of the way, boy. There we do it again. Let's go. Let's go more BSLK to the high side right now. Good look. Let's see if we can get some more here on the pullbacks in Joey. What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at Apple here, so holding up relatively well, guys. We're right back at the volume-weighted average price, and then here it is, a bunch of indecision prints at those lows. Can this be sustained? But also take a look at the volume profile as we stair-step down on the 5-minute time frames, and then you can see the strength within each print is slowly start to weaken. Can things change? Absolutely. Do we want them to? Absolutely, because we want this market to continue to climb higher. Once Apple started to participate, the market's like, we're already slightly frothy and toppy here, and we want to start to pull back. But you can see this is a genuine move that we experienced. As it punched through those 214 levels, you can see that key resistance zone, and then boom, that volume kicks in, and then that move is sustained. And also to note, look at the volume right here as we're starting to pull back. That's cooling. I like that for a potential catch-up trade here. And we can see that we're still down about 15% off of those high 10, sorry. Yeah, not that close. So about 11% from those previous all-time highs to where we're currently trading at. And I mean, watch out for that catch-up trade. And now, catch-up? Yeah, I thought it said catch-up. Anyways, what was I going to type in? Tesla. Tesla, again, we had that false break. I mean, we had that breakout. It was false, right? So we had that false breakout. And then sure enough, we're just heading right back into the middle of this range. So price heading right back into that compression. And I mentioned this before. We're going to need some positive news. We had it in the likes of Apple, right? They're starting to build that factory here or in the States. And then sure enough, with Tesla, we need something that says, hey, we're ready to start rocking and rolling again. A solid tailwind that can lead this name through that 367 resistance zone. You can see that's been a key pivot from a technical standpoint, but we need the fundamental backing as well, too. We know it gets memey, but anything along those lines that investors are like, yes, Tesla finally getting their act together, then sure enough, I would not be surprised if this name continued to climb higher. And as for one more laggard, that's going to be our good pal, Amazon. Amazon is still roughly around 5 to 10% off of those previous highs, so about 6% to be exact. But you can see we went on this nice run, hefty pullback, but the gap was filled to the top side. So keep an eye out on those. I really love those gap fill plays, especially after earnings reports.
Well said,
they beat on Azure, so.
Yeah, man. And
not, I mean AWS. Sorry.
AWS, I know what you meant. Yeah. Right. All right, guys, here's the deal. We're right back, we'll right in to SSYS. I told you I'd wait for my level, and I did wait. I got the fill, 48s. We've scalped up into 60. Now we're waiting at 65 and 74s. Let's see if this one's got the juice to get back into the high side. Showing 65s now on the level 2. We're not getting printed because it's not crossing, so it's all good. We'll pack our patience. Let's see if we can pump back up. High of the day, just FYI, on SSYS is 75s on the dot. So I'm actually front running it over here by putting my order at 74. But it seems like it is the BSLK show. Here we go again. This is breaking out. There's another high of the day. Oh, I got to go back over here as it's coming down into my area. Yeah, I have my stop in the area where I want. So I just got to trust that it's going to trigger. I'm talking about SSYS. Back to BSLK. It's an 1161 high. This thing is on a rampage to the high side. It's having trouble now, though, with the half dollar. Completely normal for something to clear a technical level, get down below it, and then struggle with it again, as the shorts or the profit takers are looking at that exact level to get in or to get out of the trade, depending on whether they're long or short. So here we go, a micro pullback into that $0.25 and up again we go into the 30s. So BSLK up 60 some odd percent. And really getting going. You love this when it starts to show up during the midday. For example, PRFX, sure, it's up 72% on the day. That's from 4 a.m., but it's down 26% from 9:30 onwards, meaning that it was running in the pre-market. I don't care if it was running in the pre-market. The time is 11:42. I want the ones that are running now. And so that's why I always try to say these trade de novos, the ones that are running now, not the ones that are running in the pre-market, are the ones that I want to focus on. So that's the look right there. So again, SSYS, sorry to kind of digress between both of these, crosses my 65 order, but it goes unprinted as a result of the spread. So it's a 2-penny spread here, man. We're not even supposed to be having that kind of trouble, but that's the situation on it. Let's see if this one wants to get going to the high side. As I mentioned, I have a couple of names on today that I don't typically have on SSino, and two of them are, one of them of the two is PLTZ. That's an inverse Palantir ETF. But look at this inverse micro strategy or strategy ETF, Joey. This thing is up and to the dang right. MSTZ or Z, shout out to my American friends, up 11 2/3. It's I don't know, it's a double levered or triple levered ETF. Doesn't really matter. I'm not going to trade it just because it's not technically a small cap gapper, but I want to throw it out there for you guys who like the smaller or lower priced names, I should say, because you can size in substantially. There is your
2x.
2x. Thank you, Joey. I appreciate that.
2x.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. MSTZ looking fantastic here anyway on the 5-minute chart. Riri also just pulled back in, losing the 10 EMA on the 5 for the first time on the day. Is this going to be one of those times where we find support at the 20, or even better, where we find support in between the 10 and the 20? That's something we've been noticing as well as of late. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on right now. Shout out to Riri. RERE is a ticker, not a big 8% and change, but one that I'll be keeping my eye on nonetheless. Joseph Wilson.
Yeah, good look there. All right, guys. So Party P says in the chat, yeah, Joe, I grabbed some AMD calls this morning, 170 strike that expire at the end of the week. Now, if you look at your delta on that specific strike price, you can automatically tell that you essentially have a 52% chance that that contract is going to expire in the money, right? You can obviously look at it in the opposite way, a 48% chance that it's going to expire out of the money. But at the end of the day, you got to understand that's pretty good, right? So the at the money IV, you're not paying out the wazoo through the premium, so that's something positive to look forward to. But you also want to have the ability to break down what's going on from a technical standpoint. I mean, the 170 is not far away. It's essentially almost the at-the-money strike, which isn't horrible, right? So let's pull up AMD here, and we're going to break it down. I mean, you're only pennies away from running back into ITM, but here it is. You open up at 173. So I don't know. You say at 1048. Actually, I love how you gave me the accuracy of the exact time that you bought them. 1048, my brother. You bought those 170s at 10. Okay, so there it is. Not too bad, right? So the thing is, when you're buying out of the money, and that delta isn't kind of accelerating, you're just like, why isn't it appreciating? Just be cautious that also theta is really going to start to pick up tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Most definitely on Friday. But then that's when you can also get some benefits from gamma. If it does decide that it wants to trade higher, it's going to be at its greatest. So the closer you get to expiration, that gamma is going to really, really accelerate. And that's why it's kind of hard to write in between those days. But nonetheless, I like where you're positioned, considering this might be a V-shaped recovery right here. So you have consolidation phase 1 right here, the liquidity grab, and then you turn around on some key indecision prints that we're always keeping our eyes on, right? Exactly. So there it is there. And then now you have consolidation phase 2. If you have the ability to break through this support level, then I think you have the chance of heading into that next step in that next phase. And that's going to be running into this resistance zone. And if you breach that, then sure enough, you want to start aiming for opening price, which will put you around 173. But what's most important here is to take a look at it from a daily. If you get a close, so let's just, let me take this off here. You got me all excited now here. So let's hide this. And this is what we're constantly talking about, and me personally. So you get this move, you get this micro pullback, but guess what? Hammer candle continues to climb higher. Pulls back, you get that inverted print. Guess what? Another hammer candle, and then you have multiple days, including some gap ups. So if you have more buying pressure step in around this 169, 170 level, and you get that genuine close as a hammer, then I like your chances to close north of 170. Considering you've bought those out of the money, essentially what they are is only extrinsically valuable. So what needs to happen is you want to hold on to that time value, but you also want to gain intrinsic. But as you're getting closer to expiration, the extrinsic value is going to slowly die off. What is that? That is your theta, essentially. It's another term. But then if you get that move where you're moving rapidly, then you can benefit from them both. But the faster that you get north of 170, the better you off with these calls there, Sharif.
All right, man. I like it. Joey Options spitting about options, guys. I mean, like Joey Options talking about options.
That's who we know.
Assassino, I'm looking at BSLK again, man. I can't take my eyes off this stock. It's, Tisha, are you in the chat? What's your move here on BSLK? It looks like it's bull flagging. The issue is, Tisha, it's luring me in with higher lows. So I keep telling myself, oh, yeah, just get in and put it at prior bar low. And the only thing is, prior bar low is like 60 pennies from here. And here we go. We just took out area highs right above that 1110 into 1130. So it looks like we're uptrending again. We're still not at the high of the day on BSLK, mind you. 1161 high. It's popping into the 20s, a little 30s, a little 20s. Here's 30s. We just took out that 30 seller quite aggressively, showing 33s now, but not on a permanent basis, a quick wick, and then dropping down below. So it does feel like we're uptrending again here on BSLK. I don't know, man. I want to get in, but I don't want to give back too much, right? But I think we're holding trend here. Let's keep an eye out on this one. We can always get in a smaller amount of shares. I just don't want to base it on any one level because this thing doesn't respect anything. It's up and down through 11, up and down through the moving averages. So on a short-term basis, obviously, that's what I mean. So here we go. We're trying to defend 11 right now. There is a buyer at 11. Do we make a higher low? We're defending 11 for the last. Nope, there we go. We just lost 11 by a nice amount. But the buyers were waiting in the low 90s because right up into 1110, 1115 now selling on BSLK. There we go. Now we're breaking out. Here it is. There's that 1130 high, and if we make anything above 1130, that's another local area high and a gap between 1130 and 1161, which is the high. But that staunchy seller at 1130 is still preventing us from ascending. So yeah, a bit of a tougher trade here right now. Kind of no continuity, so to speak, at least on the up moves. There does seem to be that seller at 30s that keeps preventing us from ascending. Generally, 11 is holding, but you did get a quick wick, probably a stop hunt order to get everybody out who was putting their stop below $11. That's my guess on that because that spent all of a quarter second below 11 and then it gapped up. Wowzers, there it is again. Dude, it's hard to discern trend on this, at least for me. I'm still really getting used to charting off the 5. And there is the new high a day on BSLK into 1178. We're at 1178, 1180 now, Joseph. This thing is on a rampage. It's looking to take out levels, but it doesn't have that consistent, flow. Every time we make a new high, people are profit taking, which makes sense, man. We're around for a good time on this stock, not a long time, right? Because, well, probably won't be here tomorrow. Let's see if that 1140 holds now, that 1140-ish area, and that didn't hold at all. And right back down to 1120 we go. So yeah, tougher one of this one. You're gonna have to snipe these. You're gonna have to be super accurate and super quick with it because it's not spending any much time or any discernible amount of time in any one area, Joey.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So let's do what we do. Let's take a look at some of the top performing sectors here today and see what we got cooking up.
See it, baby.
All right. Well, surprisingly so. Yeah. From Chicago.
From Chicago.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of.
And don't filter anything out.
Yeah.
We want the whole.
You want the? Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
We might have to.
Yeah. We'll mute some things. But, all right, guys. Real estate. We're up about 1 1/10 here on the session. Consumer staples sitting in that second place, up about 0.5%. And then you have the healthcare sector as well, too, 0.5%. And then the bottom 3: energy, communication service, and technology, all respectively down. Well, 2 of them, the bottom 2 are the third last and second last were down than less than a whole percent. That one's not even down a tenth there. The energy sector, you can see that, and then the tech sector down about 1% right there. But yeah, as for Chicago, Sharif,
yes, sir.
We were at Wrigley Field on Saturday.
We did it live.
Yeah, man. We did it live. We were at Wrigley Field on Saturday, and then we went to I already forget the stadium where the UFC was.
United Center.
United Center. So that was that was spontaneous. So it was Wrigley United Center on Saturday, which was a ton of fun, and then we were at Soldier Field on Sunday, which was a lot of fun. So there was a lot of activities. We did the river run, which was a lot of fun as well, just going around and seeing everything. We went to the CME group, my friend and I. We walked we walked to the CME group. Because, he's a big trader as well too. Nice. So we were having fun with that. But again, my praise for the city, I was not expecting what I got to experience, and I couldn't be more than happy. It gets the highest of ratings from your boy Joey.
Yeah, I went like 11 years ago, bro. I went in 14, spent some time there, and I remember being quite impressed. I'm sure it's gotten a lot better.
It was fantastic. The architecture there is really phenomenal.
A lot of Art Deco, eh?
Yeah,
they got like the stuff from like the Capone days.
Exactly. So there's a lot of stuff, like the Golden Clock was pretty cool to see, and then the whole river where they have bars and restaurants, kind of like our lakefront here. But I mean, it's a fantastic
Patty's Day, they dye that bad boy green.
Even though it's already slightly green, so I don't know why they would want to do that. I'm sure that's not too good for the fish.
I heard they had a kick-ass beach out or lakefront. Better than Toronto's. Like, we're trying to get good, too.
Exactly. So I didn't experience all of that, but my friend who lives there, he said, the development is significantly longer across, I guess, the lakefront there, which is really good. But as for everything, Soldier Field is kind of like behind that. I noticed it's like a Liberty Village style atmosphere. Yeah, so a lot of condos, more youth and everything in the downtown core. We stayed at the London House, so nice rooftop bars up there and everything. Nice, man. $30 espresso martinis. Those are always good.
No problem. $30 a pop.
Exactly. So that's.
But you know, Joey, I'm not one to tattle or anything like that. Well, I do, but whatever. Yeah. Your boy Joey Options over here, he came out Thursday night when we had Nimit. Shout out to Nimit, by the way.
Yeah.
And so your friend Joey had to get ready for the trip on Friday. Part of the getting ready process, Joseph, was getting your hands on some American dollars.
Yes.
You should have seen the wad that this guy's walking around. It's this thick and it's got the wrap on it. It looked like a band, bro. It was straight up. They was walking. He's got it in his man clutch there, and he's like absolutely this thick. It's like, Joseph, you're going to Chicago like this? Like, yeah, man, I'm Joey Hands, baby.
Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure, Sharif. That was essentially gone the first night. So
straight to gym.
It was
straight
gone.
To gym.
Man, I was just I'm a sucker for people trying to sell me stuff on the street. And then sure enough, I'm like, little kids were like selling roses, and it's the little kids that get you, right? So you're just seeing these little kids trying to sell you stuff, and I'm like, here, just take my money. I don't even want what you're selling me. So my first night, obviously, a couple beverages in, I'm just handing money out to these little kids. So, but sure enough, I'm sure it's gone to a good place, and by all means.
Look what Neil wrote.
What do you think?
Yeah. That's where the cash went. And then look at the comment with Day Trader cut right above Neil's comment.
What did he say?
Right above Neil's comment, straight to jail.
Oh, no, yeah,
straight to jail.
No, we didn't go there, to be honest with you.
All right.
Yeah, we didn't go there. There wasn't. It's not like downtown Toronto where there's plenty of people. Yeah. Trust me, a couple of the friends groups they were motivated to get there, but it wasn't as accessible as it is here in the city, for sure. But
Good time.
great trip, 10 out of 10. Oh, and I'll just touch base on my
Tell everybody
adventure.
the ease with which you got back.
Yeah, so Air Canada going on strike. Insane. So Saturday morning, we hear that they're ordered to go back to work later that evening. No, that's thrown out the door. So essentially what we tried to do is we tried to rent a car in Chicago, which is apparently impossible to do. So we had to fly from Chicago to Detroit. Then I took an Uber from Detroit to the border of the Canadian border right there in Windsor, and then we took a train from Windsor to Toronto, which is 4 hours. So I could have flown to Mexico and back on that train ride just to get back to Toronto.
Crazy.
But what something that should have been an hour and a half, an hour 45-minute flight turned into a 16-hour travel day, which is absolutely insane. So that's to Mexico, back to Mexico, and then back to Toronto, and then back to Mexico one time just to travel something that could have been an hour and 45 minutes.
Ram, how did you get back? But that's why I saw Porter there immediately. So Ram was also in Chicago this weekend.
Yeah.
And she got home yesterday at 6 a.m.
That is crazy.
Downtown airport. So if you know Toronto, we got two airports. There's the major airport, Pearson, which is outside of Toronto. We also have a downtown airport on an island. We call it Island Airport. It's actually called Billy Bishop. And we have a really, really, really good airline. Not Air Canada, of course. It's called Porter. Best customer service. Get it, Porter, Adara says. Adara likes it. So do I. So does Ram. And yeah, that flies in right to downtown. So if you're ever in the downtown, which you are, obviously, weasel into Porter.
Well, I mean,
I guarantee you they take us through the roof, though.
Brother, we were like, okay, we were willing to drive home, right? But they wanted $1,400, $1,500 a ticket for a flight from Chicago to Toronto, which is an hour and 45 minutes.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I can't wait to get on the phone with Air Canada. My friend's been trying to call. He's like, yeah, there's zero chance. So I'm going to let things cool down.
That's what they were saying, Joey. They were saying, like, labor disruptions don't fall into their mistakes, so they're not compensating anybody. That's what they were saying yesterday. Whether or not that's true or not, I'm just saying that's what the news was saying.
We're going to get on the phone.
Get it, Adara.
I was going to say, too, I was actually reading this during the afternoon session yesterday. We had a really, really hostile interview with the Air Canada CEO. I didn't watch it, but I just saw the comments. And they were like, oh, we're doing the best we can leadership-wise. Like, this isn't leadership's fault. Like, it was weirdly, it did not make Air Canada come off in a really beautiful light. I'll put it that way.
Adara, legally responsible, one thing, customer service, they're not the same thing.
No.
They're not the same thing.
Yeah, it was a really, really odd interview to the point where I saw these comments and I was checking the stock and it was like, I think it dropped a little bit on that. But yeah, I mean, if this was an American stock, I suspect it would have gone on that interview because it was really weird.
So yeah, Air Canada leadership not being leaders whatsoever, but pointing the blame onto someone else. But at the end of the day, they're your employees, so you have to take responsibility. But we're gonna see what we can get. We're gonna definitely try to get. They better refund me for my Via Rail and most definitely.
I really hope they do, brother. I really hope they do. But you know how these guys are. But they barely make any money.
It's gonna be pulling teeth to get a hold of them even, right? So yeah, that's what it is. Great trip, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, so that's the issue. Okay, guys, BSLK, the only reason I mention it is because of what we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
BSLK, guys, you guys are yelling about it, and as rightfully so. Here we go again. 73, 74%. We're working in right back into that high. That high is at 1235, correction, a new high. 1236, but it's moving 30, 40 pennies at a time, so for goodness sake, practice good risk management strategies based on your account, based on your risk appetite, based on your experience, because this one is all sorts of volatile. And, you know, I've seen it before. You can find yourself punching in long 1225, and then it's at 1150, and then it's at 1075. And you're like a deer in the headlights, like, what do I do? So you got to make sure, you know, that remove the emotion out of it by putting in those hard stops. However you got to do it, just do it, and so you can hold on to your account, because this one is going to revert. Where and when, who knows? Anyway, keeping an eye on it, looking for another technical level to come in. But really, the technical levels for me have been higher area lows. That's what it seems like. Let's do it a little bit of analysis here. Every single candle, from what I can see, from this 1110 breakout, has been a higher low. Let's just do it right now. That's a higher low. That one certainly is, as well as that one. They're all, each and every single one has a higher low. So if you did place, even this one, where it got super close to the prior bar low, this prior bar low was 1090. This one was 1091.05. So barely, but hey, it still counts. So if you had your stop below prior bar low, you have not been wicked out at any point. So keep your eye on BSLK. What'd you say, Derek? Get it prior bar low? Okay, I thought you said get it prior bar low. Yeah, and then now.
And then get it prior bar low.
Get it, Derek. Why not, right? We tell everybody else to get it. Why should we discriminate against prior bar low, right? Anyway, it's time for happening now, and then Neil's going to drop his lesson of the day.
Okay,
Here's the market consolidating near lows. It's not a particularly beautiful look here for the Nasdaq or the SPY for that matter. And I talked earlier about how IWM was looking relatively better. That's not the case anymore either. We're coming right back into that 226 support level. So unfortunately, not the strongest day for the market. Today, we didn't have like a ton of economic data or anything to digest. By far, the biggest catalyst on that front is going to be comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell at 10 a.m. on Friday, though it's also worth noting we will be having the FOMC minutes on Wednesday at 2 p.m. That should be key as well, because we know that we actually had 2 dissenting votes for the first time in over 30 years. So it'll be really interesting to read through those minutes and see if we get any context on that. Let's take a look here at some of these earnings plays. Home Depot and Palo Alto Networks, a story of I guess a tale of two cities, for lack of a better term here. Home Depot actually up on the day. They missed on earnings and sales. As Sharif said, it was the first time they've done so for about 10 years. The guidance was also nothing really exciting. It wrote in line is the best you can say about the guidance. Let's talk about Palo Alto here, though. They actually had a double beat. Fantastic report, guidance above estimates for both the quarter and the year, but not really able to hold this strength. That being said, we're still relatively up on the day, pretty consolidative, but not the performance you might expect here for Palo Alto. I also want to mention, Neil's talked about this a lot today too, but there's a lot of weakness in these recent IPOs. CoreWeave, Circle, I haven't looked at Figma or Bullish in a while, but all of these really near, yet nearer at day's lows are just now trying to curl off of them. So these recent IPOs, while a lot of them were very strong to begin, particularly Circle and CoreWeave, they're giving up some of that strength. And with that in mind, we're going to send you over to Neil, and it's his lesson of the day. So without further ado, Neil, teach the people a lesson.
There, and get it prior bar lows as well. Why not? One of the times that you might not want to care about the prior bar low, sometimes on a breakout. Look, here's the thing. Oftentimes, I feel like a lot of the lessons revolve around we like it in one direction. But there's something very specific in a market like this where, let's just look at the cues. I'll start from the top. Where you're pulling back from highs. Well, like essentially what we're doing, the Nasdaq at highs for a couple of days, struggling to push through, actually pulling back into the prior high and testing it over, testing it underneath, like in both directions. And you're kind of at that precipice where we're not really breaking out anymore, but you got a lot of individual names that are looking strong, clearly when we're trending higher like this. But if you have a trade where the setup is, hey, I want a stock to go, it's got clear resistance on it, it's got the trend like SoFi. There's your uptrend. It reaches a peak. It curls back under, gives you the rounded top, and then you have a breakout trade. Well, what does it mean when you have a breakout trade? It means you have a wall of sellers stopping momentum to the upside, and when it's released, you want it to go. Well, hold on a second. What happened when it didn't break that level the last time? SoFi dropped $1. Now, in my note this morning, it said breakout. If that fails, I did say I'm willing to reverse. I didn't. Doesn't matter. If it fails, get out fast, because it tanked straight down $1 from that area, more than $1. It's a 5% pullback on SoFi. That's what it did the last time it failed that level. And that's the reason why for myself, where am I transacting on this? I'm transacting at the breakout price. When it dips, I'm waiting, if it's trending in, for the breakout price to hold. And if it cannot hold, I do not want any part of the long. Now, there are situations where I might like another long as well. But when you're failing a breakout at a 52-week high, when the market's turning around at some of those highs, you've got to be overly careful because it gets really nasty on the back end. Now, this is a different scenario on Tesla because didn't really do well with the long on the breakout. But it's a similar thing. We break out, I want long on the breakout of recent resistance. This one instantly comes back, and I try it off of a good support, what I thought was a good support level of 333.5, 334. Like, I'm looking at that level for the dip buy. It's also the pre-market lows. It works for a bit. Ultimately, could have done much better with that reload. I end up stopping it out, and that's kind of nasty because we go higher. But look what happens when it does eventually fail to break, right? So yeah, ignore that for a bit, and let's just try to see what we can glean from this. When we actually fail the bigger resistance break through the high, look at the rejection. It's fast, it's furious. People are like, why is it so bad? When you have technical breakout fails, they can be some of the most violent pullbacks because you have a swath of people selling. You've got people that just took the breakout trade that got to get out of Dodge. You've got people that have taken the rounded bottom that are trailing out when it fails to top. You've got people that are selling because the market's turning back off the highs. So you have more sellers in there. And on top of that, you've got short sellers that like that trend break on the way back in. You have a lot happening, which causes this to lose the bid the way that it does on a failed break. So you better have specific rules around it. The last thing you want to do is being leveraging in as it's falling like an absolute rock. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I know I do it, but it's got to be part of your plan, or it should be part of your plan. And I'll go back to SoFi. Before it's even failed to break, to know that this is how you're treating it. It's all well and good to say that after the fact, but I'm looking at it that way before I even make the trade on a breakout trade. You'll hear me say, well, this one tight stop to this level, a little bit wider to that level. Maybe you like it to VWAP. That should be predetermined. And when the market's toppy, you should have, I think, a little bit more concern with that false break, whether you're willing to reload it at all, certainly whether you're willing to give it past that price. The reason breakouts are good is because sellers are getting smoked through a certain resistance. If they re-engage and immediately win back through that level, you're in trouble, especially when the market is toppy like it is here. So be a little bit extra careful. An uptrend in a bull market's great because we get longs at work, but the higher it goes, the more overbought it gets, the more violent the pullbacks can be. And ultimately, you try to do the best you can. You know, you can eke out, and let me just get this out of the way. Because I've said this a million times, and I'm not showing this, be like, hey, look at me, that was perfect on SoFi to get out. Remember, if you've seen my style of trade, there's a million times that I will do this and it goes another dollar higher. That's just par for the course. Like, I'll show you an example. Like, I'll do this on SoFi and it looks like I got it well, but that's my trading strategy. It does not have to be yours. I can also show you BMNR, where I took a trend trade here, short into the low of the day, and it goes further. The key is that you have a plan of action and you follow it, so I can be up on both names. It's not about trying to be perfect or anything like that. Yeah, it'd be nice if I still had BMNR short, but then if I was that trader, I probably wouldn't be up on SoFi. And it cuts in both directions. So have a consistent strategy and plan of action before you get into the breakout trade so that you don't get trapped at that top. There's your lesson of the day, and go Neo off VWAP, by the way.
Okay. Thank you very much, Neil. Appreciate that. Always dropping Neilage wisdom during the midday. If you're around that lunchtime hour, do catch Happening Now with Adara and Neil's lesson of the day. Again, thank you very much. Yeah, Adara's all amped up back there.
Absolutely, absolutely. But Sharif.
Yes, sir. Tell him, Joey.
I mean, as for the crypto space, very, very interesting. You obviously know that we're starting to experience somewhat of a pullback here as well.
A little bit, man, yeah.
But I mean, I think it's the cyclical effects of what we got going on, right, within the overall market. And we do know Jackson Hole coming up as well, but I think a lot of this is going to lie on some of these September rate cuts and in our possible near-term trajectory of the whole entire space.
And we know Jackson Hole's coming up. We've seen what Jackson Hole has cost the market before. I'll never forget it, Joey. August 2022 looked like we were recovering from those crappy 2022 lows, and then boom, Jerome Powell gets on the mic, uses the words higher for longer, and the market did not stop selling off, Joseph, till October. So I want to see what he has to say, because he's going to be questioned about that, the rate at which he's going to cut. So we're still pricing in a couple of cuts, right? September, and then at another meeting. And if we don't get that kind of telegraphed message, I feel like Bitcoin is going to continue, and ETH, to sell off.
Absolutely. And we've already experienced some high levels of liquidations here as well, you guys. So $570 million already in liquidated form. Now that's through 133,000 traders. So that's quite a bit. But that's also for the over-leveraged individuals, right? You don't want to be extremely over-leveraged considering the run that we've experienced here in Ethereum, Sharif. But the ETF inflows are still relatively strong. But I think that's a positive note. And just to touch one more time, if we get those cuts and he projects multiple rate cuts by the end of the year, I think we're going to see some relative strength step right back.
I would have to agree with that. But I also want to say, if you're looking for somebody else to pick up on that ETF inflows, especially the government, if you guys were looking for that strategic Bitcoin reserve that Donald Trump talked about during the campaign to grow, think again. Scotty B getting on the mic on the weekend and basically saying they're only going to add to that strategic Bitcoin reserve through seized Bitcoin. They will not allocate any new money, any net new money to that BTC reserve. So I got to tell you, Joe, I was a little bit disappointed to hear that as a Bitcoin bull. I was kind of hoping, Joseph, that they wouldn't earmark new money, but money that was already earmarked for one use or another would be redirected to Bitcoin, but they're not even going to do that.
No, it's just the seize aspect, as you mentioned. I believe they have already 125,000, which isn't too bad, and will obviously continue to grow. But what investors were looking for, as Sharif mentioned, is them to go into the actual market and start allocating and absorbing what we have left of Bitcoin. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case, as you just pointed out.
So you're telling me they will seize Elon's Bitcoin, says New York, NYTW, Miami Ben. I don't know, brother. I don't know. I don't think they're going to seize our friend Elon's Bitcoin there. But he did kind of, I don't want to say misdirect. That's not the word. But he sold at the lows, man. We know Tesla was holding a whole lot of Bitcoin back in 22, and he had to sell at the lows. So he missed out on a lot of profit. I'm not trying to dunk on Elon. That would be a futile attempt, but just trying to mention, he's already
it's more or less the criminal activity, right? If you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing with Bitcoin and buying things that you shouldn't be buying, they're going to seize it from you, especially if you get caught. And that's the path that they're. But unlike other countries, though, Sharif, they're going straight out onto the market. Like Pakistan started their own reserve, where they're going straight into the market and they're absorbing Bitcoin, well said, and some other countries as well too.
Well said, Joseph. All right, guys, I'm still watching here SYSS for a possible curl back up, but I also wanted to tell you that Palantir reverse ETF that I was telling you guys about is getting a bit of a bid. So this is an inverse ETF on PLTR, ticker PLTZ, up 13 2/3%. And there you go. You get all sorts of buying at that 928 and not a penny lower. And that held up for 1, 2, 3, 4 5-minute candles, all of which tested that 928 level, none of which broken. Here we are at that $9.50 area, 10 pennies off that high. I'm not going to trade this because it's technically not a small cap gapper, but I want to bring it to your attention because I know a lot of you are looking for these, not cheaper names, but definitely not $100, $200 like Palantir is. And there you go, PLTZ for my American friends out there. You get it. Take a look at that. Riri also breaking down. This one is losing the 10 and the 20, so I'll have no interactions or dealings with Riri until 466 to 465. I say that because that's where the white line is hanging out. And if you've been watching the show, that white line on my black charts is always going to be the volume weighted average price. So I'd like to see how this interacts with VWAP, and then I'll make my decision at that time. Also keeping an eye on, obviously, BSLK. This is the biggest, the baddest mover right now in the market during the midday. But as you can see, we got a couple of red candles manifesting there after that 12 and a third high. We're down to 11 and a quarter. And look at that volume profile, baby. Declining volume profile. That's the bad news. What's the good news? The good news is we're above 11. We're above the 10 EMA and we're above VWAP. So it's not the end of the story. We just got to set up in the right way. BSLK is the one I'm talking about. I'll keep an eye on that. GXAI, we had a really good trade on this one. Neil called this one out. during the big boy show in the morning, but this one also lost the volume weighted average price when it lost that 190, 191 area. And so I'll have no issues with that. I've been talking back and forth with Big Spile. Shout out to my man Big Spile. And he was commenting about that Wyoming token that they minted. Look what he wrote. And I mean, I kind of agree with this. How long before states with coins require them to be used for paying the state's portals, for state taxes, employment taxes, etc.? That's not a bad...
No, that's a bad look.
Thinking about that, Big Kyle. And I said to him, I 100% agree with you. Such a slippery slope. I don't like it, brother. It weakens the union if there's no reliance on the greenback as like, you know, a shared currency between the states. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this whole thing about each state issuing or minting their own token. What do you guys think in the chat? Assassino, are we able to throw up possibly a poll? Would you, do you support states, like individual states minting their own coins or tokens? Because that's what Wyoming did, Fabian. So I'd like to see what you guys have to think about that, because I kind of don't like it. I kind of don't like it. Look, I don't mind lessening the reliance on the dollar because of the inflation and the way that, you know, governments can get fiscally irresponsible, etc. But when you're doing it on a state-by-state basis, I'm like, oh yeah, that Texas coin, that's the coin I want to own. Forget about that New York coin. That New York coin's trash.
Well, no one probably want the Wyoming coin at the end of the day.
But they're the only ones doing it.
But seriously, the lesser states, right? The less dense, the less populated states, how positive could that be for them compared to a Texas, like you mentioned, a Los Angeles, California, or even in New York, right? And even in Florida as well, too, right? So you can have a dominant coin within your own country, and I don't know if you necessarily want that. Like, oh, I want that Florida coin, as you just mentioned. So, very, very curious.
I don't know how to feel about that whole thing, man. Anyway, we'll throw that up there. I'd like to hear your comments, guys. Bro J77564 says it'll be ignored. Kai Lexi says sovereign. Yeah, look, I mean, I thought that was what the dollar was for, but you know, I get what you're saying. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. 50 coins, LOL. Exchanges will make all the money between states, says Trowanet. Yeah, absolutely. That's another really good point. These states' crypto coins would have junk bond ratings, since Rich Buddy. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming maybe like the less well-off states, perhaps the states that are more governed, that are governed better and that are more fiscally sound would have better priced coins or stronger coins. I don't know. I'm just speaking out loud here, thinking out loud.
You know what this reminds me of, Sharif? You ever been to an arcade? You go there and you just load up the card with all the arcade points, and then you go and you can just... That's what kind of the vibes that it's
a little bit,
it's like,
right?
You cross the border, it's like, oh, hey, do you want to fill up on your Arkansas coin so you can pass through the tolls and go through everything along those lines?
It's like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, hold on to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's all right.
Oh, boy.
What?
Trader Forever. Oh boy, I don't know if I should read this. In the middle of watching the Cowboys on Netflix, very good documentary on when Jerry Jones bought the team and going forward. Yeah, I saw hints of that. I saw hints of like how he was buying he was like in oil, and then he bought the team to be closer to his kids or something. And he got super emotional about the whole thing. I gotta watch that. I obviously watched the Amazon documentary, but that was kind of like a behind the scenes look, not about Jerry Jones. It was about the team. So, Neil, what are those called? The ones on Prime, where they do behind the scenes, where the you know, they're after the games, you hear Mike McCarthy with the team. What is it called? Is it Hard Knocks? I forget. It's on Prime. I'm forgetting. Yeah, I gotta look it up anyway. Whatever.
That's all right.
Pardon me, Oh, is it in the chat? Okay, absolutely. Looking right now.
Yeah, it's if they're saying Hard Knocks, in there.
Okay, that's probably it then.
That, so, yeah, Sharif, other than that, I think, like, you see, like, let's go across the board on a lot of these names, and I like seeing in the chat is like, why is the market selling? Why is the market selling? But for those who have experience, have been doing this for some time, it's unfortunate that we can't just continuously go up all the time. It's just not the reality of these markets, right? So for me, it's like we do our basic percentage metrics from those April lows, and if you go into the names of NVDA, which we'll do right now, and just see how much they've climbed, like that's some big time movement. And if you haven't been participating in some of these runs, it's not as fun here. Let me get this out of here. This thing is so user friendly. It's not even funny. It's so great. So here it is, right? So again, we're just going to basically go off of these April lows as we typically do. And if you look at the grand scheme of things, NVDA hasn't even drastically sold out. It's doubled its price in a span of 137 days, more. Right? So expect a pullback, especially during the latter half of August. Everybody's going to those final vacations. The Hamptons are starting to boom a little bit here. And then money just starts funneling out. And that's what we're experiencing in some of these mega cap tech names. I've mentioned Microsoft before, all right? So if you've already been lagging what the overall market has been doing, and then now you start to experience a pullback, don't expect them to kind of be the outliers and continued trend. Can they? Absolutely. But just look at it from a broader scheme that, hey, we've been moving, this was a previous Microsoft earnings report. You're up 60%. And then I just mentioned, yeah, you're pulling back 10%. So there's nothing too worried to be, to be too worried about right now. Once you start hitting those 15%, 20%, yeah, then you're slightly alarmed. But I don't think there's that form of headwind in this overall market currently just yet. Can things happen? Absolutely. Fed, Jerome Powell can go back to what Schrieffer's saying, you know what, we're going to remain data dependent. Inflation's peaking a little bit too high. We're only going to experience one rate cut this year at whatever, 25 bits, 50 bits, whatever it may be. And that could be a potential headwind for the overall market as well, too. But mind you, I remember during QT, everyone, during the first initial rate cycle, height cycle, Shreve, everyone was still, a lot of analysts were still pricing in 8 cuts, 7 cuts. And it's like, you just started QT. Why do you believe that there's going to be a rate cut this immediately? And Shreve mentioned higher for longer. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jerome says that in Jackson Hole.
Well, I'm surprised about this exciting news for Canadian sophisticated traders. Beta Pro by Global X Canada has just launched 6 new triple levered ETFs, offering 3 times bull and 3 times bear exposure to the S&P TSX 60, as well as semiconductors and U.S. Treasuries. Do you want even better? Well, if you do, they're offering a special fee rebate, dropping management fees to just 65 basis points until December 31st, 2025. These ETFs also employ currency hedging to seek to neutralize the U.S. dollar exposure, providing performance that may more accurately reflect the underlying U.S. equities. If you're a tactical, sophisticated trader looking to amplify your performance, check out betapro.ca/3x daily to learn more. Shout out to the great folks at Beta Frickin' Pro. All right, guys, I got to bring your attention to a new small cap gapper that's weaseled its way onto the scene. It's not doing a whole lot of volume, but it is a midday mover, and it really started getting its footing under it. I want to say 11:20, so we are an hour late to the show, but what can you do? You can't have your eyes on everything. The ticker is YSXT. Not doing a whole bunch of volume. I think we've a little bit less than 4 million shares traded so far on a $2.50 name. But as you can see, it's trading near highs. And for the most part, it is respecting the 10 EMA on the 5. Now, there are these outlying events that is characteristic to this stock. You need to take account of that. If you have these wicks that breach technical levels, and it's happened once, twice, he is the one thrice, you have to be ready for it to happen again. What am I talking about here? Well, I'm talking about this candle at 1050. You're working along your merry way. Boom, drops, takes out all the level, pops right back up like it didn't even happen. Same thing happened again over here at that 1145 candle. You're making higher highs and higher lows. 260, boom, all the way down to 231, and then recovers almost instantly. So there's obviously stop hunting in YSXT. You need to take account of that if you're going to trade this one. So try to strategically place your stops or, size down. So keep thinking about that if you're going to trade this name. Otherwise, I've got nothing, guys. BSLK is coming into VWAP. SSYS also hugging VWAP, but not exactly, Joseph, a glowing endorsement for a long.
No, not yet, my friend. You've seen Trade the Pool here with us for a while now. And now Trade the Pool has created something special just for you. A free ebook featuring 4 proven swing trading strategies from Trade the Pool's top funded traders. Inside, you'll see exactly how they approach the markets, how they manage risk, and what setups they rely on, so you can learn and grow from what actually works. Download it now by scanning the QR code on screen or hitting the link in the description right there, guys.
Someone said something, and I don't know how relevant it is, but I want to throw it your way and see what you think. Donald Trump has his own coin. The president's got his own coin.
Yeah.
I know it's not a direct comparison, so don't come at me in the chat for a direct comparison. But why can't states have their own coin if you got Donald?
If you got Donald, what exactly?
You know
No,
what I mean?
100%. Why not, right?
I know they're not the same thing, but clearly it's easy.
But I see what you're getting at, though, right? I see what kind of the angle that you're taking there. Why not? They most definitely could. Someone mentioned obviously the transaction fees, etc. But I don't know what is the main benefit of this, because we already know there a big time reason of tokenization is to obviously eliminate some transaction fees when you're when you're moving outside 100%. Of the country. So why do you need that essentially when you can move money free around the country? Exactly. It's great, but I think the real use case is outside of the obviously
inflation, right? We've always worried about a rogue government comes in, they start printing all sorts of money, Joey, to fund all these social programs that they have that cost a fortune, and all of a sudden your money's worth 30% less than it was last year. Oh, who experienced that? Oh, all of us during COVID, right? So it's a little annoying. So I totally Western Union, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, and they are sweating, Fabian, and they have been sweating. So Fabian in my ear was saying, are you worried about, or are these companies that, send remittances back and forth, let's just say from the States to Mexico, for example, are they sweating with crypto coming out and these tokens, they're going to be super cheap and super fast? I think they're already sweating, Fabian, and they have been for a hot minute. And, I think also they're going to sweat even more once, the Robinhoods and the SoFis get into that even more. They're already into it, but they're getting to more. All of a sudden, you have no need to schlep over to the Western Union or go onto the Western Union website to do that.
No, absolutely
Send XRP or Solana or whatever
exactly,
else,
right? So as soon as you get to peer-to-peer, I think it just makes everything drastically easier. Will they find a way? Maybe, who knows? What if Western Union is like, okay, all right, we're going to start to build our own reserve of this as well, too, where you can transfer money so they can get some transaction fees, stake their ETH if they decide to go down that route as well,
Great point.
Because they have multiple opportunities, or there's multiple scenarios. I think they're not just going to completely fall off the map. Maybe the smaller and the weaker ones will, but I think if you have some good people behind the desk, you'll have the ability to.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that too, Joey. And I also want to say what Jag said there. Jag8322, great point there, brother. It might help the states with smart contracts and digital transactions. Couldn't agree with you more. You've heard Joseph and I talk about how archaic and dated.
Mr. President, it's too much, and I'll say no, it isn't. We have to keep winning.
You guys always dunk on him for this. When there's a red day, you guys constantly dunk on Donald. I love it. I love it. No, because we have this exact animation with a sea of red in the background back in April when he tanked the markets, and we overlaid that speech about winning on the red market. Anyway, no, but what was I saying for this?
Just the smart contracts, based off the smart contracts.
So you and I were talking about how dated the land title system, the land registry system is. You buy a house, and Joey, you got to hire a lawyer, $1,500, $2,000. What does a lawyer do? He goes and does a land titles check to see if anybody somewhere in the last 200 years registered anything against your property, a charge, a lien, whatever you want to call it, okay, against your property. Fabian, not all of them are digitized. They're actually, some of them are physical deeds, papers. So they got to go into every registry, find out, does anybody have a lien on your property? So doing that costs a ton of money. If you digitize all this and all becomes digital, doesn't matter where you are, who you are, it's all going to be part of that same
there's
system,
obviously going to be a registry with that as well, too, because you're going to have someone to issue. You're going to need someone to issue these contracts, most likely. So it's again, it's a revolutionary change in my opinion on what we're experiencing here, and I think it's going to be for the foreseeable future. We talked about the SEC with Project Crypto looking to move, wanting Wall Street to move the whole financial sector onto the Ethereum blockchain. And also with the likes of SoFi and Robinhood tokenizing equities, I think it's a big time fundamental shift.
Did your boy Pierre win yesterday or what? Did he win or not, man?
I don't know what's going on.
Pierre's back. Yeah, he won. He won.
He won.
All right, yeah.
So he's gonna go.
So he's back in Parliament now.
I think our boy Mark Carney is gonna be in the driver's seat for quite some time.
Yeah. You know what? I said this already. I'm giving Mark Carney a B+ so far, but he'll get an A.
You think so?
If he can strike a deal with Donald, a good deal.
Yeah,
if he does a good deal, he's getting an A.
And maybe build some more, continue to
he's
ramp
gonna
up.
have to.
But see, the thing is, though, our boy Dougie's missing quota as well too. On homes being built in Ontario.
He is.
So what was it, 1.3 in a span of 10 years or something like that? He's right. It's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
And he's already behind quota, so he's going to miss it this year. So he won't get any grant permitted from obviously from a federal level as well too. He's about 100, like I think it was like 50 to 100,000.
He's short.
Behind.
He's short. Yeah.
He's behind.
But
so
you can't force the builders to build. That's the thing.
No.
They don't want to build because they don't know what the hell the products are going to cost them because of tariffs, right? And let's just call it another spade a spade, Joey. Canadian consumer is not that strong right now. It's not the same thing as America.
Have you seen our unemployment rate?
Yeah. We got
like
double
7%.
digit. Let's not even talk about the youth.
Yeah.
The youth is like double digit.
It's like 7%, which is absolutely insane. In a country that's a tenth the size of America, when you have an unemployment rate of what is it, less than 3%, I believe, or just a little bit over in the States.
It is.
Unemployment rate?
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys, let's get back to some trading here. Shout out to, who is this? Joe and Stags. I'm sorry, I'm killing your name. But he's like, hey, let's push YSXT. You missed the T on that. It's okay. One more time. But here it is, guys. I mean, it's still holding generally. But as I've mentioned to you, it has a propensity to wick below key levels and then pop right back up. Look, this is not my favorite stock. I'm not really seeing all the key ingredients that you need to see to kind of go long, but it's holding above the 10. So what kind of a person would I be here if I didn't get long, when I'm supposed to be trading these small caps? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to load this up on here. We're going to take a gander at the spread, XT on the NQ. What do we got on the spread? What the hell is this? 8 pennies? What am I supposed to do with this? No wonder people are not punching in. No wonder it's been so wicky. It's an 8 penny spread. It's done 4 million shares. Right now it's tightening up a little bit to 5 pennies, but that's not good enough, guys. It's just not good enough. Yeah, I gotta tell you the truth, I'm not liking anything right now. Whether it's BSLK, SSYS, or even this YSXT, I'll be searching for more on my scanner. Let me have a quick look right now, see what else is trending. There's XFOR, but it's almost done no volume. Let's give this one the old college try. We'll give it to prior bar low. We're going to give it to 48s, okay? We're going to take small amount of shares over here. Let's see if we can get the mid print. So it's showing me 56. Let's see if we can get 54. The answer to that is no. So let's try getting 55s. All right, it's already going without me here. Piece of crap. All right, so it gave me a partial fill on small shares. Like, how's that even possible? All right, so there we go. We'll just post this over here, and we'll see what we get, and we will not get upset. So we've got shares on here on YSXT, but let me just cancel this order super quick. And we'll set up an order for 61s, and then we'll layer the orders into 64. So what's the deal? Where are we looking to get out? I'm not sure what this thing is doing. Oh, that's why. Okay, there we go. So we'll look to layer these orders like that, and then we'll put the stop prior bar low. As I mentioned, that prior bar low is 48, so we'll put 247. And we'll have to give it a bit of spread, obviously, because it is a spready ticker. So showing me 59s right now. It's not exactly rocketing back up. Get it, Adara? Oh, was that you firing off a yawn? Nice. Very nice. All right. It echoed from the front, Adara. That's why I was looking over there. Yeah, you threw me off there. All good. You like that? Okay. All right, so up 34% and change. Again, I think we're getting some selling here at 59s, and there is some size posted at 60, not prohibitively large or anything like that, but we'll have to wait and see whether this one can step up. For whatever reason, the spread's tightened up now to 1 penny, 59 on the ask, 58 on the bid. Certainly was not like that a few minutes ago. So that's a look. Let's go to SSYS as well, because I'm seeing that this one is approaching a key technical level. So we were getting a whole bunch of selling here. it looks like in the high 40s. I'm talking about 46, 47. But here we are into that 50 penny area. And it was a great VWAP hold, by the way. Let me show you what I'm seeing on the side charts here and the black charts. You can see them a lot better. How we were getting all those wicks into that high 40s, low 50s area, and we're getting aggressive selling. But that's changed now. So we have 2 candles in a row with higher lows and higher highs, and here we go above that 50 penny area. Not a bad look here, possibly on SSYS. This would be bull flag number 2. Okay, so there's your initial bull flag right at 920 or whenever the news hit. Boom, we spike up to 1040. We retrace a little bit down to 990. Bull flag number 1. Bull flag number 2 comes vis-a-vis that 1120 bump in volume, and we rock it back up, and we're holding this time a key technical level at the volume weighted average price. So 2 bull flags in a row there, baby. Do we get a third? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but we're going to keep this one on the side chart to see if we can get that continuity. It's up. Not that big, guys, even though it's up, a good-looking chart pattern. It's only up 12 2/3% on the day. So it's not, we're not even talking about anything big here, Joey, like, 60, 70 some odd percent like we're usually talking, but
absolutely, that's
a look right now, my man.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's see what everyone's up to. I took Google long up 200. I want to see what that is. UNH has been absolutely phenomenal. Shout out to our guy Nimrod there.
He's pumped about that, man.
Yeah, did he message you about it?
He gifted a ton of memberships and dropped a ton of money on Friday.
From UNH?
Yeah.
No!
You know, of course he is.
And he messaged me on Saturday as well, too. What a guy. Yeah, so good luck there.
Great guy.
Okay, let's take a look at Google. So yeah, he is printing up a massive storm on that one.
Get it, Nimrod.
Google. So let's see, I took that Google long up 200 was isolated volume on the 3. Okay, well, I don't usually have the MAs, but there it is. Okay, I see what you're looking at right there on that 5-minute print right there. So good look on Google, Gorev, UNH. I know A1 Guru, it's looking really good. A bounce off of the lows. Let's take a step back here, and this is just what I'm talking about. So we're constantly going over VPA, right? When we used to do our lessons of the day, one of them was a volume price analysis lesson. That's just the correlation between volume price, stopping volume, igniting volume, etc. And that's what we experience here on UNH. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but let's go to... Oh, okay. So anyways, what's going on here? We had multiple gap downs. This name has been just getting absolutely destroyed since the CEO was unfortunately killed, and then it was just been a snowball effect. Bad thing after the other, bad thing after the other. Now, with all that fundamental uncertainty and what's going on with that, we're still going to pay attention to what these technicals can tell us. All right? So gap down, multiple gap down days, but this is something that we needed to keep an eye out on. All right? And so when Nimrod approached me and said, Joe, I'm looking to buy some UNH calls. What do I think of this? Well, I said here, just basically from a technical standpoint, we've been continuously selling for an X amount of time. Eventually, it's going to cool down, and then the price action is going to identify that for us. And that's going to be with this isolated volume print and that isolated candle print as well, too. Sorry, Adair, 1 second. And this can also lead to us, hey, we're ready to get a bounce. Even though we did trade a little bit south, you can see it now start to rebound relatively well. Adair, what do you got for us?
What I have here is news on META. As you can see, it kind of did a quick little spike and then it recovered pretty quickly. New York Times reporting that apparently some Meta AI executives are expected to leave and that Meta is overall looking at downsizing its AI division. We know that we did hear a report from The Information late last week that Meta was planning its 4th AI overhaul in 6 months. And we also know about the massive acquisition spree that Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg's been on. So again, unclear how different this report is from the others that we've seen, but New York Times just reporting that apparently there will be yet another AI overhaul here, and apparently some AI executives are going to be leaving the company, and the AI division will be downsized. And we know the super intelligence division is that new one that Zuckerberg's been trying to build. We'll have to wait and see how or if that is impacted. Back to you.
Very much for that, Adara. Appreciate that as always. All right, guys, we'll start the news in about 5 or 10 minutes or so. It's a long news list today. There's a lot to talk about. Very detailed topics. We'll be talking Intel, obviously. We'll be talking Nvidia, that new B30, Joey, that they want to make specifically for China. It's built on the Blackwell architecture, but scaled down, obviously, to make it exportable. So we'll be talking about all that. So if you're into that kind of thing and you've got a long-term portfolio, or you're swinging these things, you'll want to join us because we get into the nitty gritty and we talk details, baby. So make sure to be with us in about 10 or 15 minutes when we start that. So I've weaseled into a new trade over here, as you'll see on the position board. I'm into SSYS again. And the deal with this one is we're looking for that curl up. Now, obviously, we don't even have close to the greatest price. That would have been at VWAP. Should have been more live to that. Was not. That's on me. But we're in at 54, and we've scalped up there into 62. Next beak wetter, 65. Looking for an attempt at that 70 penny area. Why do I say 70s, even though the high of the day is 75? Well, because both these closing prints rejected off that 70 area. So if we can get and hold above that, I'll be pleased as dang punch, as Adair likes to say. So we'll see exactly what the situation is with that one. But you also have another trade. It goes by the ticker YSXT. And this one is doing nothing. In fact, we're break even exactly on it right now with no profit takers. 58 showing up over here. We got 58s on. It's holding the 10 EMA. I've given this to this bar low, so this doji candle right here. If it breaches 46, it's all over. So we will give back a little bit on that one if we end up getting stopped out. But hey, we're going to do the best we can. I don't like anything else right now, guys. I've been keeping my eye on the scanner. There's not a whole lot going on. There's a sub $1 stock that's trying to weasel its way onto the scene. Let's look at this one super quick over here. The ticker is GLE, like the Mercedes, GLE. This one. Let's have a look at the 5-minute chart. Barely any volume, bro. This thing's 86 cents, has done 300,000 shares. I'm taking this off, man. No, we're not even going to look at that. That's just dangerous right there. So there's nothing, guys. I mean, I'm looking. There's this mask, M-A-S-K. That's not going to do it for me. XFOR is not going to do it for me either. A lot of these ones are breaking down below the volume weighted average price, so there's nothing doing for me either. LASE was another one we had eyes on, but that one is also straddling the volume weighted average price from the sell side. This one was running all sorts in the pre-market and in the aftermarket yesterday. It looks like it was an earnings winner. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it is actually an earnings winner. I can see that from yesterday. Started gapping up there at 410, continued into 8 p.m. 4 a.m. comes and it holds these levels, makes highs in the pre-market, then breaks down at the open, straddling VWAP from the sell side. So nothing for me on this one. Continue to watch it. If it gets above VWAP, fantastic. If it doesn't, we don't trade it, Joey. So we'll keep an eye on that. Saad Mahmoud Sharif started a swing short on WULF. It had quite a run up since last week. You're telling me, brother, we've been looking at this thing every day. Yeah, Joey Options was on vacations, but we weren't. So let's look at WUL. It's not a cop-out. You wouldn't be looking at this either, right? Like,
yeah, honestly.
Right? Like,
but just me being me, brother, every morning I did try to stay away from just like looking at the overall market, but it's just in my nature now to see what we got going on. So I took a glimpse here and there. Right
well, you didn't need to tell me that, Mr. ADM ETH is at new highs, bro. I'll never forget that.
So it's just
no, for sure, Joey. So WULF has had a fantastic little time of it lately. Let's go to the 4-hour so you can see that breakout there coming in fast and furious in the morning of the 14th. So what are we? We're 5 days deep with a 1075 high. This is the 4-hour chart, by the way, on TerraWolf. Coming down below 9, though, on the day. 880 is the low. We're currently trading 911. I'd like to see this hold above 9, but no hard and fast rule there. Keep your eye on this one. It's not a bad look, certainly. But if it does revert, it's got a big gap to revert right here. And this looks like the chart on Joby. So full disclosure, I'll always tell you about my losers, won't tell you about my winners. I got into some Joby over here. And it's not looking good, guys. So I might have to punch out of this position and then get back in. I'm long like this long term, but I don't have to be long in my account right away. I do like this company. I like the segment. I think we're definitely got a lot of commercial as well as military applications for these eVTOLs, but it doesn't mean that it's the right time to be in it. So that's kind of the breakdown. Let it break down. If it breaks down, it breaks down. That's fine. All right, just going to pass it on to Joey in a second here, but we got a nice price spike here on YSXT. We wet the beak there up into 65. So good look, but we should have had more orders out, Joey, because it spiked up into 70, and we didn't get to participate at all into that spike into 70. So let's throw out some more orders right now. We're going to wait. You know we're going to wait at 69. That's just the way it works. So we'll keep an eye here on YSXT and look for that break of 270.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. All right. So, yeah, it doesn't seem to be one of those sessions where it's ideal to try to catch a falling knife. So, yeah, thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Casey,
yeah,
man.
exactly.
Oh,
526 for those memberships. Very much appreciated, as always. Thank you very much. I'm assuming you had a very good day, considering. But even if you didn't, even more generous of you. So, yeah, that takes a lot of nerve for an individual to be like, hey, even if you didn't have a good trading session, that you just give away membership. I'm not saying that you didn't. I'm suspecting you did. But anyways, all right, guys. So there it is. We've taken so far 3 losses on Ethereum trying to catch this falling knife. 1 winning. That obviously eliminated this one and some of these here. But we don't want to give away too much now. Still. Yeah, so slightly red if I realize this, but that's nothing to worry about. First day back, we'll just keep everything kind of subdued and kind of obviously keep the volume lower. But again, just back to the falling knife, you don't want to continuously try it. It may be time to flip the short-term mentality and just be like, hey, let's try to look for momentum to the downside considering how much of a climb up this market's experienced since April. And once again, we're going to go back and we're going to break down what the Qs have been up to. And me personally, we mentioned before, it's the dog days of summer, right? So expect this. It's the cyclical effects of the market. And then I also wanted to, I know we have a poll out right now, but I'm curious to see what kind of everyone, I don't think we've thrown this one out. Are you a day trader, swing trader, or a long-term investor? I think that would give us a really, really good gauge of what we got going on because of the news that we do now, it has a lot of influence on potential swing trades, in my opinion. A lot of people say don't mix fundamentals and technicals, but you can kind of build systems based on both of them. If it's really positive and you can grade your catalyst to something that's high level, you can base swing trades off of that. And I've been doing that, and I've been experiencing that and having a lot of fun with it as well, too. So let's break this down. Oh, we were already on the 5 minute. Let's get down to the daily, and here it is. We're starting to experience this pullback. But guys, we're 2% off of those previous all-time highs, but we're 43% from that low to that previous high in a span of a couple of months from April. So experiencing this pullback is normal. Unfortunately, the market can't go up every day, but then it's our job to kind of adapt and change our trading systems. And that's the most difficult thing about intraday trading and even swing trading is just getting that transition to say, hey, what worked yesterday in yesterday's market sentiment may not work today. And if you have to start to flip the switch, it's not an easy transition. It's going to take some time, but I'm not saying it's necessarily we're in that mode, but just be prepared to do so. Because if the sellers are starting to dominate and these pops are being less and less bought up, and you can see the fading easily, you see the sellers step in a lot quicker and more aggressively, then that can give you the ability to kind of just switch up your game. And that's when we go back to the volume price analysis is you want to see in any form of a pop, you look for those indecision prints, and then you look for the continuation to the downside. But when you have them on the lows, they may not be as aggressive, and you may not hit your primary targets leading into view up and such, all right? So that's where I'm starting to lean, considering this market is looking slightly toppy. I would not be surprised if the market rebounds tomorrow, but you still want to be prepared for those sellers to step in. And this is me telling you guys out loud, I'm prepared to change my system and kind of just rearrange on what's going on, and what worked yesterday may not work for me today. And then that's when you have to go deeper into that playbook and discover, hey, I got to start finding my short systems, and I have to be more selective on my entries. And I think that's really, really important as you're going through that transition phase, Shreve.
Man, that was some hot fire.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Bro.
It's true, though. No, it's true, though, because during all of our tariff turmoil, it's like, okay, I had this system, and the name of it, everybody should name it. It's the VWAP breakup, right? Sure. The VWAP breakup or VPA. Well, it's like, okay, I buy VWAP and I look for signs of strength in the tape, but it wasn't working. It's like instantly, okay, you run into the indicator itself, it acts as a brick wall, and things start to turn around. And it's like when those losses start to accumulate, we're like, oh, it's not working for me, my system sucks. No, that's not true. The market is just changing from a cyclical standpoint. And that's when you have to learn how to adapt. And thank God for that tariff stuff, because it learned and it accelerated that learning curve. And I think it's by no means this is not the level of what we experienced during all that tariff slump and everything along those lines. headlines, but things can change and you can see a pullback. The market will always outweigh you, right? So it's like, oh, you think things are going to turn around? Well, guess what? You're going to continue selling for another couple of weeks or a month. Or you're like, hey, the market's topping. Well, guess what? It rips for another couple of weeks or a month. It's just be prepared to switch up what you got going on and be way more accurate and precise on some of your entries. You can't go gung-ho and take 15, 30, 40 trades a day. You need to be more accurate and just slim that down to 5, 4, 5, 6, 7 trades. So
there you go, man.
That's what we got to do.
I love it. All right, Joey, let's start the news. It's 10 to 1, and we have a lot to get through. So let's talk about SoftBank investing $2 billion in Intel. That's obviously after the news we already got a few days ago that the Trump administration, a.k.a. the U.S. government, possibly looking at taking a 10% stake in Intel. We had Lutnick on CNBC this morning say that they would be non-voting shares. Again, nothing concrete so far. We'll keep you updated. Let's take the SoftBank angle to start here. So, as I mentioned, $2 billion coming vis-a-vis SoftBank into Intel. The purchase price is $23 a share. So it looks like they're already in the money, Joey, because where the hell is Intel right now? INTC, show yourself. Well, Intel's up 25.33, so they're up $2.53 per share. So good look. The stake equals about 2% of all of Intel's outstanding shares, making SoftBank the 5th largest shareholder of Intel in the world. So the company, just to give you an idea, if you already know what Intel's been doing, it lost 60% of its market value, 60% in 1 year, in 2024, the worst year that it's had in over 50 years. However, silver linings, the shares are up 26% now year to date. Intel up 26.25% year to date. That 18% number is wrong. It didn't take into consideration the recent price move. It reflects obviously some cautious optimism under the new CEO, Lip-Bu Tan, who took over in March. And he hasn't been without controversy. The Trump administration, as well as Senator Tom Cotton, were trying to push him out, calling him conflicted, of having too many close relationships with China and their companies and the whole Cadence design systems. You can do your own research about that. The report does suggest that the U.S. government may take an equity stake in Intel, in obviously highlighting the strategic importance of having a U.S. domestic chip maker. Lip-Bu Tan, recently met with Donald Trump, who had previously called for his resignation, highlighting the political scrutiny. SoftBank, just to give you an idea, this isn't new for them to punch in or to invest in semiconductor names. They bought ARM in 2016. They agreed back in March to buy Ampere Computing for about $6.5 billion. They're also obviously partnering with OpenAI and Oracle for that Stargate project. And they led a $40 billion investment round in OpenAI, which is obviously the largest private tech deal in history. So, Joey, more good news, should I say it that way, for Intel?
I think so. I think you're leading in that right direction, Shrif. And you made a very valid point. As you're starting to rotate into America first, who's going to be affected by this? All right. So I think that was such a valid point in what you brought up. But I also want to talk about a specific tailwind, because we know that Intel has been dead money for a long, long time. Now we're starting to see some big-time names take more of a stake into it. So what are they doing? They're focusing on it. But when you've been in a consolidation for so long, I think you need an X amount of tailwind, and the severity of that tailwind to be immense, considering of what you've experienced. This is August. This is unfortunate that you've been sitting in this range for quite some time, from literally a year, right? It sucks. But I think if we're continuously taking the steps in the right direction in order for Intel to kind of start trading well again from an intraday standpoint, but even from an investment standpoint, considering it's been dead money for an extremely long time. So a $2 billion stake from SoftBank, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, Dara, what do you make of this? I mean, it's not a bad look. Like, we can't say $2 billion having a SoftBank backer, the U.S. government, this is bad for Intel. But is it all good news?
I don't know. I just think that it would be nice if there was like a day without Intel news. Like, I feel like since Thursday, it's like, oh, someone put Intel in their 13F. Oh, the government's buying Intel.
Fair.
The government's taking a 10% stake in Intel. SoftBank's taking a giant stake in Intel. Like, I think we just need to cool it for a moment. I think at this point it's almost like Intel overdrive.
Overload.
You know what I mean? There's almost too much happening with it. And I think the fact that in addition to this stake, now Lutnick is still saying, he confirmed this morning that the US government does want that equity stake in Intel. And apparently we're hearing some reports are going to use CHIPS Act money. I just think, like, I want some clarification as to what's going to happen. And I also want to say Lutnick does have a tendency to say things that are then immediately walked back on by the administration. So I do think it's worth putting that massive disclaimer out there. This could actually be complete bupkis, to use a term to use. I do want to mention this as well. This has nothing to do with Intel. But hey, I updated my Daniel Ives ETF components in waiting. This hasn't been posted yet on X, so you guys are getting an exclusive look. I will be off for Wednesday and possibly Thursday, so I've been preparing some things ahead of time. These will all be pre-posted on X and just scheduled, so you can see all these posts. But yeah, I mean, I really want to mention Nvidia and Oracle were not this highly weighted in the ETF. If you look at in June when it was first announced, like Microsoft dropped from the top spot all the way down here. So the weighting significantly changed. When I post this, I'll be adding it to the existing thread so you guys can see the comparison, but it's pretty staggering here for some of these names, guys.
That's fantastic. That's a great looking infographic there. Joey.
Absolutely. No, I just want to touch, I like how Adara said mentioned like Intel overload. But look what we've experienced with AI overload over the past couple of years, crypto overload over the past couple of years, right? So could this be a potential early sign that, hey, Intel overload, do you want to position yourself relatively well considering everybody's talking about it, especially the big people? And I think that's a good time to start, especially when it's consistent news about one specific thing.
Man, and there's a lot of political tailwinds here to make the company successful. What it ends up being successful, an entirely different story. But I want to touch on one thing, Joey. When Adara made the point very clearly that Howard Lutnick said, look, it's going to be CHIPS Act money that buys that 10% stake. And whether or not that's true and it's walked back, we'll have to wait and see. But I think that that's very telling. Why? Because that money needs to be earmarked from Congress for that purpose if it's new money. If it's already allocated money vis-a-vis the CHIPS Act, then the Trump administration can kind of redirect it there without kind of breaching the separation of powers where Congress has control over the purse and the executive executes. So I think that that's just more tactically designed as opposed to anything specific. So we'll have to wait and see. But look, what's his name? Sad. I see what you're saying there, brother. Intel has been beaten down for so long, and rightfully so, with the competition blowing it out. This is a huge change in fundamentals. He tags me. I'm not disagreeing with you, brother. But like as the Katina man said, he said it many times. He's seen this story before with Intel. So I'm going to need to see a little bit more. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't be interested in getting involved in Intel if we start seeing the right things. But yeah, I did a really long video about this on our TikTok channel. I go into a deep dive in why Intel has been kind of lagging behind and what some of the potential avenues for success for Intel are. So go ahead, check out the Trader TV Live TikTok account. But while you guys do that, we're going to go on to the next story. Palo Alto Networks reporting after the bell. The Katina man and Adara covered it in the market recap show, and what a report it was. Let's get to it. Revenue for fiscal Q4 rose 16% year over year to $2.54 billion, easily beating the $2.5 expected by the street, while EPS also jumped 27% year over year to 95 pennies per share. The street was looking for 88 pennies. So boom, beat top and bottom line. Obviously, that puts them back into positive territory year to date because they were negatory after the concerns over CyberArk, the acquisition that they made for $25 billion. Speaking of that acquisition, there it is. A lot of people believe that $25 billion acquisition was to mask weakness in the company. They're saying it's not defense at all, baby. We're playing offense here with this acquisition. That's what management's saying, so you're going to have to buy that or leave it. So management frames the deal as offense, not defense, aiming to add leadership in the identity security ahead of the expected AI-driven inflection over the next 12 to 24 months. I'm assuming they feel AI will obviously kind of throw cybersecurity a bit of a curveball. They also have a very aggressive strategy that they've been trying to employ for the last number of years. It's called platformization. What the hell is this platformization? They're trying to get you not just to buy one service off them. They want you full, all in into their network. So all the different facets of cybersecurity, they're looking to offer it, all of it, and that's what they've been doing. They've been selling integrated security suites, and they continue to accelerate selling that. In fact, they recorded 1,400 deals this past Q4, which is up from 1,000 last year on the quarter, so 400 more than they printed last year. And according to the company, they're on track for 2,500 to 3,500 by the end of the decade. Customers are also making larger, more strategic commitments with the company, and they describe the move as less of a product purchase and more of a partnership between them and their clients. Let's also talk about their major wins. They had 156 different customers who are spending more than $5 million annual recurring revenue. And they have 51 customers spending over $10 million a year ARR. And they have a bunch of big deals that they closed lately, Joey. A $111 million deal with a global consulting firm, a $61 million deal with a financial services company. And last but not least over here, they're guiding well above expectations, whether you're looking at GAAP, or revenue, EPS, or free cash flow margins.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic stuff. I mean, the space is obviously continuously growing. Subscription revenue also, I don't know if you mentioned that, Sharif, 17% year over year. So continuously growing. You mentioned some big time new customers there as well. And then again, he mentioned the operating margins here. But from a technical standpoint, Palo Alto is kind of doing what I remember CrowdStrike was, kind of as it peaked. But as it broke through this consolidation phase, it just went absolutely insane. So Palo Alto and CRWD, potentially good names. And this is what we just always go back to, is that April move, 72%. Yeah, now you've retraced half of that from those previous peaks to the trough, 20% almost. So is CrowdStrike in a bear market? Not just yet, but let's get back to PanW, because I want to see what it's been off of those April lows. PanW, 47% off of those April lows, but now you experience a big time gap here. And then now you're continuing that bleed. So I would watch out for this gap to be filled here in Palo Alto Networks.
There's a whole bunch of gaps on that chart.
Yeah, it is pretty gappy, right? And you got this phase right here. But as I mentioned before, Sharif, this reminded me of what CrowdStrike was doing early last year. Let's pull it up. So like here you can see you got a lot of consolidation, and then you have this consolidation over here in CrowdStrike. But then look what happens after, right? You get that breakthrough. Unfortunately, you get that pullback here. That's tariff. But again, continuous growth, you're increasing subscriptions. I think it's going to continue to grow and climb higher at some point.
Adara's in the position right now. Adara, what is going on? Tell us about the position first and foremost, and then drop hotlines about the actual report.
This position continues to be a sleeper. I'm just going to be honest with it. So I got short, like not right off the open, but I don't want to get too into, edge or whatever strategies. But I have a strategy involving trend lines. Palo Alto Networks gave you that false long that I like to look for. It goes into 189, tanks it. So I got in around 180, above 186s, I'll say that because I don't remember the exact price. Took out some around low 182s. I added a couple times. I got stopped out. I didn't lose too much on it because I added whatever we still had some of the initial position, but it whipped me out more or less. And so then I got back in. I am still in it. It is being very boring. If you look at the chart, you will understand what I mean. But I have no reason to leave, so I am straight chilling in Palo Alto. Two things I want to say. One, this is Nir Zook, and he was one of the co-founders of Palo Alto Networks. He just stepped down and retired from the company. He was their chief technology officer. And he was there since, again, they were co-founded in 2005. So the reason I bring up Nir Zook here is because if you look at what happened to Snowflake when they announced the retirement of their CEO, Frank Schlutman, and he wasn't even their founder. That was back in February 2024, right? So just be aware this could maybe be a headwind. The fact that you have someone who's very well loved by the company, in this case, actually a co-founder of said company, who then steps down. The other thing I want to mention, I'm just switching hands so I can keep my hand on the key here so you guys can hear me. This is our Palo Alto Networks infographic on X at TTV Research. I put this up yesterday. As you can see, honestly, year-over-year revenue growth, stellar. They have not had a year where we've had a year-over-year decline. So good look here for Palo Alto Networks. I would say they're securing some growth here. I know I didn't have much to contribute to this, but I did want to talk about Nir Zook a bit because it's something I don't believe I mentioned in the watch list. And I think it's really worth noting given what happened to Snowflake in a similar situation.
No, and I got to agree with you, Adara. He's not just a nobody or an old name. Huge. Yeah, he's a chief technology officer, so very much has his hands still in everything. Good point there, Dara. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's move on to the next story. NVIDIA. Oh, baby. This will get a lot of people riled up. Plans to sell a new Blackwell-based AI chip for China. Yes, you're not wrong. Blackwell is their most advanced AI chip. So here's the deal. Nvidia is designing a new B30A AI chip for China using its latest Blackwell architecture. It's more powerful than the H20 that was previously banned up until, I think, July, but a scaled-down version of the B300 that's coming out next year. We're still dealing with the B200 right now. The single die design delivers about 50% of what you would get from a regular B300, so very much scaled down to the power of half here, with high bandwidth memory and NVLink for faster communications. Samples of this B30A could be sent to Chinese clients as early as next month, but the company will have to wait for regulatory approval before doing that. Shout out to the 30-month backlog there at the U.S. Commerce Department. Always doing a great job. President Trump, you'll recall, recently suggested, Joseph, that he could actually allow a more advanced NVIDIA chip to be exported to China, but approval is far from guaranteed amid, obviously, the bipartisan national security concerns about selling these AI chips to China. Lawmakers, for their part, they fear even the scaled-down versions of these advanced AI chips could benefit the Chinese to catch up to the Americans in the AI race or help bolster their military, neither of which is desired by the Americans. NVIDIA emphasizes, for their part, that all products are designed for commercial use, not military, and they require government authorization in order to be exported. Just to give you an idea of how much or how important China is to NVIDIA, well, it accounts for 13% of their global revenue, and that's down 7% year over year from, actually, not year over year, from 2023, when it was 20%. So that number's been shrinking, and it's been shrinking not because of demand, but because of regulatory headwinds. The Chinese state media, for their part, they don't even want these NVIDIA chips in their country. They're telling ByteDance, Alibaba, Baidu, and whoever the hell else will listen not to buy these H20s, because they think they're compromised. They think there's backdoors and cutoff switches put in by NVIDIA. NVIDIA, for their part, they're like, we didn't do anything like that. What the hell are you talking about? Then we got the story last week that the U.S. government was sneaking in little tracking devices into the AI servers and into the AI packaging. So the Chinese, at least for the moment, weren't really that far off.
Yeah, I think it's a tough position the states are put in. So it's like, what, do we sell China the lesser version, and then they can use our chips, but then it also advances with their military, as you mentioned before, or do we allow them to advance themselves and buy those and continuously buying Huawei, more local, obviously? I don't know. It's a really, really tough position, but also I think we got that hint from Donald Trump, Sharif, when he was talking about his previous conference, where he's like, have you heard of the Blackwell? It's really super duper, right? So essentially they're going to build that dumbed down version, and I think that was a hint that they were leading in that direction, 100%. Even though we didn't even necessarily know about it yet. But super duper stuff.
100%. No, I could agree with that completely. Adara, what's your take on this? I mean, are we making stuff up here, or is this a real deal?
I continue to say with NVIDIA, with the China story, I'm going to say the same thing forever and ever.
Go.
I think that it's like this weird, because you know how, like, for example, if you like somebody, right, and you want them to be into you, let's say you're like in middle school, which is kind of honestly, I think I think it's not a bad analogy for the situation. So you want someone to notice you, but like you don't want to make it obvious. So you're like, oh, like, well, you know, like I'll bully you, I'll pull your hair. I feel like that's what China and the US are doing to each other with these chips. And I don't know. It's going to be like, and I feel like quite honestly, Sharif, I feel like we get like a version of the same story every single day. And it's like, just give us something different. Like, NVIDIA wants to send the China chips. Howard Lutnick keeps saying, Jensen Huang's visiting Trump. Trump says, Jensen wants to visit me. Has Jensen visited him, though, with the Blackwell? No, he hasn't.
No.
We don't even have any evidence he wants to go with him for a China Blackwell, because we know that's what Trump was claiming. I think, more realistically, it'll probably be this new modified China chip. We heard reports of this earlier in the summer as well, so this makes a lot more sense to me than what Trump and Lutnick are saying, that, we're going to get this, like, new Blackwell. I don't think so. But, yeah, I mean, the Blackwell may be super duper. This chart is not, and this ongoing like back and forth tete-a-tete with China and the U.S., it's getting kind of old. I'm sorry, it's getting stale like old cheese. I would like some more, interest and excitement. Like, I want something to change. I want someone to make a move. I want someone to hard ban something. I want someone to hard approve something. Because, like, how many times can we report a version of the same story? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think we keep getting different versions of these chips. That's why, right? Like, you know what I mean?
But I want like a big difference.
I get it. I completely get it. It's tough, obviously, because there's just so much pressure. It's bipartisan, Adara. It's not just the Democrats that don't want to sell these chips to the Chinese. There is a large contingent of the Republicans, at least in the Senate and the House, that don't want to sell it either. So Donald's kind of, I don't want to say he's on his own here, but he's definitely not. He's not got the full support of his party. So thanks for chiming in, Adara. Let's go on. Go ahead, Joey.
Well, we know, again, so it's like, do you sell these chips, the dumbed-down version of Blackwell, to China? Because we know that they have been experiencing some issues with Huawei, and then we know that the Chinese are obviously good at making things a little bit cheaper. I mean,
no, you bring up a really good point.
Right? So,
you bring up a really good point, because I don't know if this story broke when you were here or whether it broke Friday. DeepSeek was trying to train the new R2 model, so the R1. So you know what I'm talking about. So I'll just tell everybody. They were trying to use the Huawei Ascend chip, and it absolutely, the bed. And so they don't even really want to use it. They don't want to use their own chips. Adara has breaking news.
Yeah, keep an eye here on TEV and HIMS. Apparently, the FDA has announced that Teva Pharmaceuticals USA is discontinuing the manufacturing of its finasteride tablet. So TEVA actually didn't drop too much on this story. It was already kind of pushing lower, much like the market. HIMS not really moving on this either. But again, FDA announcing via their website that Teva Pharmaceuticals is discontinuing the manufacturing of its finasteride tablet. I do want to mention as well, guys, I'm not seeing any news as to why the market is dropping, and I am waiting right now for Caroline Levitt's press conference to begin. Back to you.
All right, guys. In Africa, a new generation of leaders is rising. The woman boss empowers them. We provide them training and mentorship. Women and girls need to start businesses, create change, and build sustainable futures. We've already impacted over 10,000 lives. Your contribution creates the next opportunity. Scan the QR code and power the next woman leader today, and check out womanboss.org.
Let's talk a little ETH here, Joey. Katina, man, that was a perfect segue there, because now we're going to talk a little Ethereum. So Fundstrats, Tom Lee expects Ethereum to undergo what he's calling a short-term dip to 4,075 to 4150. That's the range he's saying we're going to hit by midweek. Where are we at ETH right now? We're exactly at 4150, Tom. So before resuming, according to Tom Lee, its upward trajectory. We'll have to wait and see whether that's true or not. The correlation follows what he says Elliott wave patterns and is seen as a healthy temporary consolidation with a very good risk to reward ratio. Again, Tom Lee's words, not mine. He emphasizes the move shouldn't be a big deal at all, and that's in quotes, framing it as part of ETH's ongoing bull trend. So he has a price target on ETH of 5,100. So he says after the midweek dip. Whoa, I'm really screwing up with the words here. After the midweek dip, ETH is projected to climb towards $5,100, representing what he says is a minor new high. The market cap, at least it did at the time of this writing, was at around $510 billion with about 13.2% market dominance in the crypto market at large, highlighting ETH's entrenched position in the crypto market. So he's got a big bet on Ethereum, obviously, and we know how he's done that. He's done that through Bitmine Immersion Technologies, aka BMNR. Who remembers this stock? Which that's his company, which has accumulated 1.174 million Ethereum, making it the third largest crypto treasury globally. The stock, BMNR that is, has soared 683% year to date at the time of the writing of this article, driven by the pivot by BMNR from mining Bitcoin into hoarding ETH. That's really what they're doing. Lee calls Ethereum the biggest macro trade for the next decade, citing infrastructure growth and developer adoption. Again, his words, not mine. Lee's models suggest that ETH could reach between 12 and 15,000 long term, with $10,000 seen as the base case. Joey, whatever you make of that, those are Tom Lee's suggestions there. I happen to respect the guy. I think he's a good guy.
I think Tom Lee's a great guy. I think he's highly intelligent. Base case 10,000 sounds absolutely fantastic. It's funny. I was listening. I think it's not Bitmine. It's Ethereum Machine. So, anyways, the CEO of Ethereum Machine essentially said the reason why he doesn't own Bitcoin and only Ethereum is because, well, why would I want to hold a landline when I can have a smartphone? tough comparison. But at the end of the day, what he is saying is the use case for Ethereum is there. We're starting to see that established. Smart contract, putting tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. Beautiful stuff. I like what we're experiencing in Ethereum. From a technical standpoint, yeah, this pullback is regular, right? We're not going to complain about it too much. If it starts to get deeper, it took a while for it to break out. But then when it did, you can see it just continuously climb. We did breach that previous, did we? No, we didn't. Actually, yeah, we did. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, 4,800, or was it 49? Where was it? Okay, so not quite. We're right there. So maybe we did experience that a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think that we're just continuously seeing the adoption of this. I'm not surprised that his base case is $10,000. This pullback, relatively normal. But if you start breaking through some of these resistance zones here, I'd keep an eye out on for this. But again, it's the staking.
Oh.
With Tom Lee. Now having, how many million did he say he have?
1.174.
Okay, so last time I checked with Tom Lee, he had a little bit less than that. And he was already generating a yield of 3 to 5%, would have been $100 million in net income alone, making an extremely successful treasury. And if he's going to continue to climb, to allocate this, that yield is going to continue to accelerate. And then that's why you see stocks like BM&R continuing to climb higher and higher. But I love that staking theory that he's established now with Ethereum, And then now we're starting to experience that pullback. But I think in the long term, we'll be okay.
All right, Adara. Tom Lee, wishful thinking or sound technical setup?
Or bias. I'll just say bias. Yeah. I'm just going to say that I have no issue with Tom Lee, but I'm sorry, in my opinion, this is even more insidious than Josh Brown going and being like, oh, buy Pfizer. Because here's the thing. We know that Tom Lee is on the board. He's very invested in this particular stock. In my opinion, he shouldn't even be allowed to talk about Ethereum.
Why not?
I'm getting a little bit worked up, but I feel like every single day I see on X or I see on CNBC, he's posting up about Ethereum. We never saw him this much before. I don't know. I don't like it. It kind of...
I see him all the time.
We do see him a lot, but I feel like we're seeing him at a much greater velocity. I'm getting X notifications about him every 2 seconds. I'm like, it smells...
You're not having it.
A bit of impartiality, or it doesn't seem impartial to me. It smells very partial. I dislike it. I don't think he should be able to talk about Ethereum. I think it's a bit... I don't know.
Do you have any comments about the coin itself?
Pardon?
Do you have any comments about the coin itself?
I think, honestly, it's doing well technically lately. I am not, I'll be really honest, I am not a crypto bear.
Yeah.
But it's not something I'm personally involved with. I root for everything. I think, technically, Ethereum and Bitcoin and everything else, the last 2 days have been really rough. I want to see how they recover from the last 2 days. But
well said.
Before those last 2 days, Ethereum honestly looked the best out of a lot of these major ones.
Yeah,
so
it was near the highs.
Technically, I would like to see it clear 5,000. But unlike Tom Lee, I am not involved with a company that is profiting off of it. So
well said.
It. So I'll just put it that way. Again, nothing against Tom Lee. I just do have an issue with that strategy.
Well, yeah, everybody pounds the decks on their own positions. We do it on the show as well, plenty.
That's fair.
Wouldn't that be like saying Michael Saylor shouldn't be able to talk about Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he shouldn't.
Why
and
though?
Also because the thing
but I think they should be allowed to talk if they disclose their interest in it, so that everybody knows that you are invested.
That's actually okay. That's not a bad point.
You know what I mean? Like,
essentially, is what they're doing at the end of the day. They know that they're invested, but I think they should be able to talk about it there because at the end of the day, you think about it. So you have the Genius Act, you have the Clarity Act. There's actually fundamental backing of why he's talking about this, especially with moving the whole financial system onto the blockchain. So I think there is some reasoning behind it.
I do have one.
Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah.
So with Michael Saylor, usually he's speaking less about technicals and more posting weird memes of himself working at McDonald's and talking about how Bitcoin is like the cyber swarm of hornets or whatever that is. Whereas Tom Lee is actually talking about technicals. Now, I'm not saying his technicals have no merit. I'm saying that given his massive interest in Ethereum, they do whiff of, a little bit of bias. I'll put it that way.
Completely agree with you. It's 100%. You're 100% accurate.
The space that Saylor occupies versus the space Tom Lee occupies are, to use the term from Obi, distinctly different. And so I think, with that in mind, right, Michael Saylor is, for a lot of times, a talking head. Tom Lee's also a talking head, but he's a talking head with, a fund. He's someone that we value in terms of these technical takes.
I see what you're saying.
To have that bias and give technical takes, I find a little bit rough.
I can kind of see that. I wouldn't make it illegal, but it definitely devalues some of his opinions in my eyes going forward, right? Because if you think about this, Joey, at the end of the day, whether he's right or wrong about ETH, He has a vested financial interest. There's no arguing about that. So, you know,
So again,
I'm not saying he can't do it.
Absolutely.
He should be able to say whatever the hell he wants.
But think about what Dan Ives has been saying about the AI trade for the past 3 years. Right? He's been saying that Palantir is probably the purest AI play out there right now. And look what that stock
good point.
Yeah, right?
Good
And look
point,
what that
bro.
stock has done.
Yeah.
Right? So for me to say that he can't talk about it just because he's invested,
No.
I think there's some more backing to what we have going on with Ethereum than what Michael Saylor may have in his Bitcoin case. There's no specific use. It's a store of value right
You're
now.
not wrong, bro.
Opposed to what we have and experiencing in Ethereum, where we have more regulatory clarity, and especially with the tokenization of everything, there's something behind that, opposed to just seeing how much Bitcoin you can accumulate so that you can sell it to the next individual for a higher price or whatever it may be.
I agree. Ram, are you punching into ETH or just Bitcoin? Both.
Hey.
You guys hear that? Ram is long both. All right, we're going to Adara. She's got breaking news.
News actually here about ALTS. So this is Alt 5 Sigma. Now, in case you guys missed it, I believe last week we had this news that they were going to be taking a treasury in, or I guess collecting some of that World Liberty coin. That's, of course, the Trump coin. And then also we're going to have Eric Trump join their board. Well, now the information is reporting that apparently the Trump partner in this crypto venture, referring here to Alt 5 Sigma, faces some SEC allegations. So apparently somebody involved in this Alt 5 Sigma or ALTS is facing some allegations from the SEC, as reported by The Information. Caroline Levitt talking right now, nothing, just kind of her intro remarks.
As always for that, thank you for bringing us ALTS and keep us updated with anything Caroline Levitt says that could be market moving. Let's go on here to Tesla. So it's been, we've been reporting on Tesla deliveries, sales lately, and, for the exception of Norway, they've been trash. Europe, North America, take your pick. Today, finally, some good news for the beleaguered EV maker. So Tesla reported 14,000 new insured registrations in China for the week of August 11th to 17th, which is a 4.5% week-over-week surge and the highest weekly sales figures of the quarter so far, and they're actually growing quarter over quarter. If you look at the quarterly growth in China, it stands at 60.3% quarter over quarter, but you're still got bad headwinds. It's still a 9.5% decline if you look at it year over year, and a drop of 5.9% year to date. So maybe some short-term increases here, but bigger picture, at least on the year to date or year over year, still a tough look. So showing momentum, but recovery weaker than last year's base. Let's talk about why maybe they're moving. They're launching 2 new models of the Model Y and the Model 3. Let's start with the Model Y. They're calling it the Model Y L. It's going to be a 6-seater version of the current Model Y SUV. It's going to be priced around 340,000 yuan, which is about $47,000 and change. Way cheaper than what they sell it here for, by the way. And it's going to offer a CLTC range of 467 miles per charge. That's pretty good. They're also releasing a longer range Model 3 sedan with about 500 miles worth of range, further expanding its lineup to attract, that premium EV buyer from China. So certainly something here, Joey, that you felt they did need to move the needle on, because as I watch every day, Doug DeMoro, Forrest Griffin, or no, for whatever, something Forrest or another.
UFC
Yeah, no.
He's a UFC
so
fighter.
he's like a different Forrest something or another, a car review guy online. Joey, they're constantly reviewing these Chinese EVs that they get specially sent to them, and they're insane.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, they're really good. Remember I showed you the Cadillac?
Yes, man.
That was absolutely phenomenal.
The Lyric, it was so good. Marquise
it was
Brownlee.
The IQ, the IQ,
IQ.
But at the end of the day, Sharif, I'm curious to what this pump has to do, because we know that iPhone sales were up in China as well too, but those are, I think that's due to subsidies that the government is giving.
Yes,
well.
it is.
So could this be a little transitory where we're seeing just kind of a short-term pop, as you just mentioned, and then things start to cool off, and then you just see BYD and some of those other companies continue their dominance, or could this be somewhat sustained?
That's the thing. That's the thing, man. BYD is just head honcho right now.
Yeah.
Adara, is there a silver lining in some of this report over here? 60.3% quarter over quarter, but when you're looking at the yearly figures.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, TSLA is, if you look at the chart, there's certainly no silver lining, I'll tell you that.
Oh,
but sometimes
boy.
the fundamentals are unrelated to the technicals. I'm curious about this model YL. The name is really clunky, but we're going to have to see. I think, honestly, this is kind of a radical idea. It's something I just thought about. But maybe what Tesla should do, instead of trying to, get back sales in regions where it's already struggling, they're doing really well in Norway. Why don't they just force on really pumping things up in Norway? Because we know Norway also has done really well with EVs in general. I think they have like 97% adoption.
It's like 5.5 million people that live in that country, though, Derek.
But I mean, at least if you can get every Norwegian driving a Tesla, at the very least you've started somewhere and they're getting more global recognition. Norway is often considered one of the happiest countries in the world. They have actually a very large media presence, which people might not realize. They have a booming film industry.
Tell them why you know that, Adara.
Because I actually know some Norwegian. I taught myself Norwegian from watching teen dramas when I was 18. It's totally normal. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is I feel like with the type of media saturation that Norway actually has, it's a pretty, I mean, yes, it's admittedly a very small circle and it's a small country, but I think that if you can get, enough saturation of the vehicles, enough of that, I don't want to say influencer marketing, but I think if you see people in the Tesla, then I think maybe start with where you're doing well instead of trying to force people who dislike Musk to buy cars from Musk. That's not going to work.
Clearly.
I agree with what Adara has to say. Obviously, you just mentioned that Norway only has 5.5 million people. But at the end of the day, you got to think, Adara, there's over 1 billion people in China. I think that's a market that you need to address. And I'm really curious to see with the Model 2, if it and when it comes out, if that can start to grab a cheaper model, what you get in China, a Tesla version. I'm curious to see if that can boost sales as well.
Comments on the Model 2, Adara?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. I've said this once, I'll say it again. Elon, stop giving us deadlines if you don't.
He's not going to stop, Adara.
Just stop.
He's not going to stop, Adara.
And so with that in mind, who knows if we even get a Model 2? He was telling us we were going to get one by the start of this year. They were going to start producing it. When did that happen?
They're already producing it, if you believe him. On the last call, he said he had them.
Sharif.
Yes, in Austin, Adara. He had them in Austin. Where the hell are they? Yeah. I know. I back you up on that.
Seen them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't believe that. And no, guys, I'm not trying to come off like negative Debbie Downer or whatever. I like to play devil's advocate during these talks. And so with that in mind, I'm going to continue to do that. But here's the one thing, Joe. I do not think that Tesla should start their efforts trying to turn around China sales because there's so many other options in China. Like China has a lot of EVs that only sell in China. So if you're going to
have to back you up on that.
And they're going to try,
100% agree.
I don't think it's the right tack for them to start with. I think start with Norway.
No, and their cars are not as good, Adara.
Yes.
And their cars are more expensive and they're not as good. And the only reason they're even selling over there is because Tesla and American cars in general in China are looked as premium brands.
Yeah.
How long for? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be for that long.
5.5 million people isn't going to do it for me.
I
you got a much larger market that you're going to have to address.
All right, guys, let's go on to the next story. Thank you, Adara, for that. Obviously, great input as always. So, Health Canada, on this side of the border, approving Ozempic for kidney protection in diabetes patients. Good look. It's not a major headline, obviously, but we do have 40-some-odd million people, and there's a lot of diabetics, so it could, be a nice revenue tailwind for them. So Health Canada approved Ozempic, known as semaglutide, on August 13th to reduce the risk of kidney decline and end-stage kidney disease, as well as cardiovascular death in adults with type 2 diabetes and chronic kidney disease. That's a whole lot of diseases there. Ozempic becomes the first of the GLP-1 drugs in Canada to be approved to protect both kidneys and hearts in diabetic patients. So we'll see probably even more dispensed here. And I got to tell you guys, it's every third or fourth prescription that's a GLP-1 now. That's not me making it up. That's the data out of the stores.
And how much are those prescriptions?
They're very expensive, Joseph. Very expensive, about like $400 or $500 bucks. All right, the FLOW trial, that's what it was called, from 2019 to 2024. It had 28 countries involved and about 3,500 patients. It showed Ozempic reduced the risk of kidney failure or a major decline by 24% when you compare them to the placebo group. The patients on Ozempic also had a lower risk of cardiovascular death, reinforcing that dual protective role. Again, Joey, Canada, not a small market, but not the biggest market in the world. It's a good look nonetheless.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know too much about these GLPs at the end of the day. But for me, Sharif mentioned that the prescriptions are very, very expensive. I can tell you a cheaper alternative right now, but I'm not going to because it's very simplistic. But for me, if it helps, I get it. Yeah. If you feel the need to take it at the end and follow that trend, continue to do so. But I just mentioned I can find you something significantly cheaper.
Oh, all right, Adara. This is one that you keep your eye on a lot. I know you look at Lilly, you look at Novo Nordisk. Give us the goods. Give us your opinion on this.
Yeah, I will continue to say I think Novo Nordisk is a really weird one for day trading. Usually I find that it's like wicky, it's choppy, it's weird. That being said, today actually it looks like it was pretty clean. If you want this rounded bottom, nice like triple top, you almost, I don't want to say head and shoulders, but it is worth noting that the middle low is lower than the other two on the side. So it's an interesting look there, technically speaking. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cool that we talked about this yesterday. I'm just going to kind of repeat the point. I think it's a good start that we're getting, I guess, Ozempic and these weight loss drug and diabetes drug approvals for other conditions, because that might open the floodways here to allow approval for mental health conditions, which we know there has been some evidence that could be helpful for it. I think that's honestly could be a major game changer. So I'm going to continue to say that. Yeah,
and if you're wondering what Adair is referring to, myself and Obi were talking about this story yesterday for a different label. Thank you very much for that, Adara. Let's go on to Xpeng. Xpev, as you may know, smashing the Q2 estimates with record deliveries and margins. Guys, this is a blowout quarter for Xpeng. I'm never suggesting what to buy, but I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of these numbers. Let's get right down to them. Q2 revenue surged 125.3% year over year on the quarter. They're now printing $2.55 billion, or about 18.25 billion yuan, easily beating the estimates there, with vehicle sales revenue jumping 147.6% year to date, driven by higher deliveries, obviously, and even gross margins are expanding. They hit a record of 117.3% versus that 14% print a year ago. The vehicle margins rose to 4.3 thanks to cost reductions and a stronger product mix. This is a stupid report. Their quarterly deliveries, 241% year to date, or year over year. They're delivering on the quarter Tesla-like numbers. 103,000 cars delivered by Xpeng, up from 9.75% in Q1. They're operating at full capacity here, Randy. 677 stores in 224 cities. And look how many charging stations they have. And they have 350 kilowatt charging, not the 250 that the superchargers are maxed out on. They're still losing money, Randy, like a lot of these EVs companies are. They did narrow their loss down to about $130 million on the quarter, progressing slowly towards that profitability, with adjusted EPS coming in at about 41, I don't know what pennies are in yuan, which beat expectations. They ended the quarter, and this was important for me, with $6.64 billion. And we know they need money because that's what these EVs do. They constantly expand capacity, which is obviously very cash heavy. Now, even their guide was ridiculous, Randy. They're guiding 113 to 118,000 vehicles to be delivered in Q3, which would beat what they delivered already, which 103, which was a record. That would be 142 to 153% year over year bump. And look at that revenue forecast for the next guide, 19.6 to 21 billion yuan. Again, above consensus. I know you don't have a mic, so just gonna, there you go. You got Randy's response on that. Joey, this is a blowout report.
Yeah, and again, that's not a good look for Tesla.
No.
I mean, we were talking about it, as Adara mentioned, it's like, okay, the space is already so crowded in China, and then you have some numbers coming from Xpeng where you just have this insane year-over-year growth, and Tesla's just struggling to get by. Yes, we see an increase quarter over quarter with Tesla, that is, but at the end of the day, when you have a company like Xpeng, BYD, just continuing to take share, because they are Chinese-made, and obviously Tesla being American-made, or American-based company, I don't know how good of a look it's going to necessarily be, but it's not good for Tesla, considering these local names are continuously taking up market share in a space that Tesla had a lot of part of, a lot of market share, that is. Dara, what do you got for us on Xpeng? Dara?
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
This chart looks nice. I think the earnings were really strong. I've kind of said this before, and I'll say it again. Xpeng, I feel like, is one of the best performing Chinese ADRs in general, and more specifically, I think in that Chinese EV space as of late. Now, this actually kind of looked like a bull flag with that $21 level. I want to see what we do now with that 2080, but beyond the intraday fundamentals, actually, this 2080 looks like it could be a really good short, and this is not usually the type of name I look at. But yeah, I mean, I think like as these notes say from Sharif, shares up 68% year to date. It's clearly performing well. Their guidance is strong in terms of their deliveries, and their quarterly deliveries grew year over year. Those are things Tesla's not doing. And I'm not trying to do an apples to oranges here with Tesla, but if you did, I think Xpeng would win. I just think it's a really good look here. I don't have much negative to say, and the earnings didn't have many negative things to say either. So yeah, I mean, good look here for Xpeng.
Yeah, absolutely, Derek. I agree with you, too. And from a technical standpoint, you can see that price was really compressing, and then we broke through, and now we're on the back side of that trend. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can see some continuous appreciation here in Xpeng stock here.
Yeah. Yes, Adams Miller. I think Randy was making a gesture to suggest the Chinese automakers' profits were soaring. They're not quite profitable yet, as we just talked about. They're still losing money, but you know how these companies are. It's a road to profitability, so we'll have to see how they do. Let's talk about Palantir deepening their ties with Japan vis-a-vis Fujitsu. I think I'm saying that right, Fujitsu, yes. I used to have hard drives made by Fujitsu back in the day. I used to put my own computer together, by the way. I put my own computer together back in the day. Yeah, it was super easy.
I didn't. I selected all my parts from my computer.
Yeah,
and I
same.
just put it.
I just put it together. It's actually quite easy, Joey. Well, it used to be. I don't know if it still is, but it still is, eh, Fabian? Yeah. Fabian says it still is. All right, Palantir, as I just mentioned, signed a new agreement with Fujitsu on August 5th of this year, granting them the right to offer Palantir's artificial intelligence program, that AIP that we've been talking about forever, in Japan. So they're going to have exclusive rights for it in Japan, and you're going to hear how they use it, and it looks like they're using it quite successfully. So the deal expands Fujitsu's access to Palantir generative AI technology with plans to extend globally after this fiscal year. It builds on the collaboration that they already had, which started back in 2020 and in 2023 when they had a global agreement to distribute that Palantir Foundry. Go ahead, Joey.
My L2, right? So I had it on a different thing. So it essentially punched me into this no-name stock because I didn't have that. So I'll just have to fly now. But other than that, sorry, sure you can continue.
No problem. Yeah. I see the super chat there. Thank you very much. I think that's AED is something dinars. For CoreWeave. Look, I promise you I will get to CoreWeave after we're done the news. Just hold on tight. Why is everybody talking about CoreWeave? What's going on?
Let's find out.
Let's flip to the 5-minute over here, see what it's doing. I mean, it's kind of recovering. It's above VWAP, but it was selling off like the entire market. It's at 92 now. It's just a little bit above VWAP. We will get to it, I promise, after the what's it called? The news. Just make sure to tag me. You don't need to super chat again, so you don't have to send money again, but just tag me, and we will look at CoreWeave for you. Anyway, let's go on here. Fujitsu will embed that AIP, that Palantir's AIP program, into its UVance framework to drive enterprise digital transformation. That's what they're saying they're going to do with it. The platform supports all sorts of different things. You've got your data analysis, your supply chains, your defense, your finance, your manufacturing, all while maintaining human oversight. Fujitsu tested AIP internally within its own company, and it cited improvements both in staffing, workload reduction, and risk prediction. So they used it in-house, they liked it, and now they want to sell it. They're projecting, Joey, here that they make $100 million in sales from that AIP-linked offerings by fiscal 2029. Palantir, for their part, they're going to provide ongoing upgrades for AIP as well as the technical support as enterprises expand AI use cases. So yet another commercial deal for Palantir.
Well, that's the thing, right? So with Palantir, we know we're getting the commercial deals and you're getting these government deals, but then we noticed from our previous report as well, too, that their growth outside of America was relatively cool, around 3%. And this is what I said to Sharif. This is a step in the right direction. In order for Palantir to sustain and continue this growth cycle that they've been on, I think it's great for them to start to expand overseas. And this is exactly what we're starting to experience with the Japan deal. So.
Is this a buy? Dude,
I don't know about just yet, but you can start grabbing some, I think, at some point.
160, fill the gap, Joey.
But this is, I think, I guarantee, come the next report, Q3, I think that we're going to see an uptick in their growth overseas, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
the only thing that was keeping me from thinking that was like, oh, the U.S. is definitely going to want to, have...
Right? But why can't they do something in an instance like what they're doing with the AI chips, right?
Exactly.
The NVDA chips is like, let's give you guys a little bit of a dumbed-down version of what we have, right? It's just essentially collecting a bunch of data and just reiterating it to you so it's more simplistic and you can read what's going on. So why can't Palantir?
No, I agree.
And I think Alex Karp will most definitely go along.
Oh yeah, that hair, he'll do anything.
He'll figure it out.
Adira, this is an interesting look here. You saw me say to Joey, yet another commercial contract. The reason I was emphasizing that is because we hear a lot about these government contracts, military and otherwise.
And I think lately they haven't really been moving the needle. Like we used to see Palantir rally 5% on some tiny contract, and today we get a contract and we sell off. And I'm not saying at all that we're selling off because of the contract. I doubt that. This stock is generally perceived, for I think understandable reasons, to be incredibly overvalued, and the market's selling off. And guys, I want to clarify, I do not know why the market's selling off, because I've seen a lot of people mention in the chat, why, you guys know if I have news, I'll give it to you guys first thing, but I just don't have any. Sometimes that is what it is. Palantir, I think 160 is an interesting level right now. We don't want to get above it in any kind of salient way. This double bottom kind of shelf hold on 158 could be interesting, but honestly, I think Palantir is one of those stocks that probably needs to get the balloon popped a little bit, deflate a bit, and then just breathe. And I'm not saying that the stock is a goner or whatever. I'm just saying that a lot of times things need to breathe. And there's nothing wrong with the company as far as we can tell. No. The stock was just super, super overvalued. It got to a crazy, meme-like proportion. For context,
it is,
when I was in the Midday in September, at the Fed meetings, we were trading this around $50, $60, right? Or $30. It's just, I think that the speed at which it's escalated has been really, really, really exponential.
Crazy.
And it's just it's hard to sustain that.
Yeah.
Right? Meta had its 20-day rally, or when Nvidia went to 1,200. Things need to breathe.
Adira, it's only, look, I think you're overstating this, Adira, because it's only trading at 578.33 times earnings, Adira. It's not overextended at all. And I know you're not, sarcastically inclined, but I know I'm being sarcastic right now.
I mean, if you weren't being sarcastic about 500, I'd be pretty concerned.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you, Adira, for that.
We've seen other names trade at a ridiculous multiple as well, too, Sharif.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Remember when we were talking about AMD trading at it was 1,100 times forward earnings, which is absolutely insane. Obviously, it cooled off from that point. But where do we get to kind of an aspect where we look at it as, hey, even though it may be a little bit of exaggerated, but where do we get this multiple expansion when you continuously have a company like Palantir, government contracts, commercial contracts, now going into Japan? At some point, where can we justify that?
It's a great question, actually, dude. That's some food for thought right there. All right, let's, while you mull on that, I'll tell you about this. Medtronic. It's not a company that I know all that well, but this thing's over $100 billion market cap. And if you're a doctor or a surgeon, you probably know this company very well. So they posted Q1 profit, not revenue. They took $1 billion home, more, 1.04 billion, or about 81 pennies a share. It's largely flat from last year, but it was above expectations, so a beat there on the top line, excuse me. Adjusted EPS came in at $1.26, beating the 123 expected by the street, and revenue did rise 8.4% year over year on the quarter, up to $8.58 billion, surpassing the expectations by about $200 million. 8.38 was what the street was looking for. Their revenue by segment, let's talk about that. Cardiovascular revenue, 9.3% bump year over year on the quarter. They're raking in about $3.3 billion out of that division, with their neuroscience revenue also growing nicely, 4.3% year over year on the quarter, taking home $2.42 billion from that. Their medical surgical revenue increased 4.4% up to $2.08 billion. I'll submit to you just from experience that the physical good margins are a little bit lower, so you can look at the revenue increase, but your take-home money from that's going to be a little bit less. Last but not least, their diabetes segment was the best performing, but the smallest of the four different divisions they have. They grew 12% year over year on the quarter, but they only brought in $721 million, easily lower than the other three. Let's talk about their 2026 outlook. They're forecasting for organic revenue growth of around 5% or 6.5 to 6.8 on a reported basis. Their adjusted EPS are guiding now 560 to 566. That's for full year, but that's a revision, an upward revision. They were guiding previously 550 to 560. They also commented about tariffs. They said tariff headwinds are now estimated to impact earnings by about, give or take, $185 million, which was less, again, from what they guided previously. They were saying we're going to lose about $200 to $350 million. So you love to see that 185 number. I'd like to see a zero, but definitely better than expected. And analysts currently expect, Joey, about 555 EPS for full year 2026. And they did appoint this John, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, and Bill Jellison to its board following engagement with the activist investor. Never heard of them, Joseph. Elliott Investment Management. Ooh. I'm being facetious. All right, what do you got there?
Again, I personally don't know too much about this. So when I see a stock like this, I kind of want to pull up and see what we have going on from short interest and available shorts. Not too much, right? Nothing substantial right here. Not even a 0.5% quite yet. So that's what we have going on with Medtronic. But then if you look at this name from a technical standpoint, it's just consistent grinds. You're trading within this range here, but just know that you're forming these consistent higher lows throughout this pattern. So if you have the ability to sit through some of this volatility, just up, down, I think it's good opportunities that you can buy in at these lows, and the chance of it bouncing off them are there because it's done it multiple times.
I like it. I like multiple times. Multiple times is good. Adara. This is an interesting report. It was a beat on every kind of segment, top and bottom line. The segments did good. Any outliers here? Comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally that, like you said, it's a pretty good report. I think what's interesting now too, though, is that sure, they raised their guidance, but the reason a lot of these companies are raising guidance is because the tariff costs are going to hit us more than expected. So. That's maybe not a super exciting prospect, right? Maybe it just means that you overcompensated when you delivered your initial guidance, right? So I almost get why the street's not super enthused. I will say from a day trading perspective, this earnings reaction is one of the most boring things I've ever seen.
Really?
However, I have a caveat.
Okay.
If we can break out above this, what is this, 89.60s, which it looks like we might want to, this could be flat top breakish.
I like it.
Other than that, this is kind of a boring earnings reaction. And we love earnings season as traders, right? We want to get big, juicy reports. We don't want this or what PanW was doing earlier, for example, right? So I think from a trading perspective, it's a little bit bleh. Also, Caroline Levitt is just stepping off.
Yeah, so I want to know. You were giggling up there, and we demand to know what happened there.
So basically what happened was I guess, and again, I'm paraphrasing because I mostly tuned into her response, but someone asked her something along the lines of, we're hearing reports that I think it was either Hamas or Iran is considering, I guess, that this ceasefire proposal potentially. What are your thoughts on this? And Caroline Levitt said, and again, sorry, but paraphrasing, she said, well, there's no surprise, or I guess it's no coincidence that right after Donald Trump words a strongly worded post in his Truth Social, that then we see response from Iran and Hamas, and I'm like, I don't think they're checking truth.
You know what it was, Adara? It was the end of the message where he put, "Thank you for attention on this matter, DJT," which I think that's what moved the needle, Adara.
I don't want to comment further, but I'll just keep laughing because it's funny, and I apologize, and back to you.
That sounds good. All right, let's go on to Viking Therapeutics. This was a bit of a... Oh, get it, Katina, man. I like the shades there. Very suave. All right, let's talk about Viking Therapeutics because this was a really aggressive pre-market move. Pull up the ticker, guys. Have a look. VKTX. Very interesting. So they actually reported a positive phase 2 result for its oral weight loss pill, VK2735. That's what they're calling it, with patients losing about 12.2% of their body weight over 13 weeks. The results exceeded the expectations of 10 to 15% average weight loss, far stronger than the 8.2% reduction that we saw in early stage testing. The drug is positioned, we know, to compete with the market leaders like Novo Nordisk's Wegovy, Eli Lilly's Zepbound, but in a more convenient oral form. But they're not the only ones making it. We know the other companies are looking for this as well. Let's talk about the safety and tolerability of the drug. It was generally safe and well tolerated according to the report, with most side effects related to a mild to moderate, primarily gastrointestinal issues. This was interesting here. 28% of patients on it discontinued treatment due to side effects, compared to 18% on the placebo group. Importantly, though, and this is the important part, no plateau in weight loss was observed during the 13-week period, suggesting to you that if you continue to use it efficaciously, or whatever, however it's said, with longer use, you would continue to lose weight. And that's something we've seen or not seen with the other GLP-1s, where you do plateau. So this was really quite interesting to me, and I don't know why the market sold off, but that's neither here nor there. Vikings pill will face stiff competition from large players like Novo and Lilly, as we talked about, who dominate the space with well-established GLP-1 therapies. But analysts know, Joey, that VKT's pill, if successfully commercialized, could carve out a market share as an oral alternative to these injections. People would rather take a pill than poke.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was about to lean towards there, Sharif. You just referred to as them taking market share, but how crowded is this space going to get when you have cheaper alternatives like Hims and Hers already has the oral pill as well too, and then you just mentioned Novo and Lilly. So how many of these products are going to continuously come out, and who's going to dominate the space? I just don't know enough about Vikings Therapeutics or these GLPs, but that's what it's starting to seem like to me, that the space is starting to get really, really crowded, considering there's multiple alternatives that you can take.
Yeah, it's a good point. Adira, it's a $150 billion obesity market. Do they take any of that, or do they grow it?
Well, I just want to say something in general. I'm not specifically going to opine on, I mean, I can opine on VKTX. The results are generally solid, but here's the thing I want to say.
Go.
I talked about this when we had Lilly earnings and people didn't like the reaction to their drug. So here's the thing. Novo Nordisk, guys, with their semaglutide, which was their oral, no, Cagrasemi, that's what it was. Their Cagrasemi, which was like their, I guess, oral mixed weight loss drug. Those results were, touted as, like way better than Lilly's when Lilly released theirs. But the thing is, when Novo released theirs back in December 2024, the stock tanked because they weren't good enough. I think the thing is, the standard for these is just far too high. I think generally expect a little bit of weakness on day one. Now, that does not mean the drug is bad. That doesn't mean the report was bad. It just means that the market isn't really sure how to price these or compare them to one another, because we're still, there's two leaders in the space, Novo and Lilly.
Exactly.
So obviously they're going to set the standard. But I'm saying if even these ones that are setting the standards are releasing generally strong trial results and they're still selling off, just be aware of that. So it's not, in my opinion, not shocking that Viking Therapeutics, with, again, generally strong results, is selling off, because honestly, we already had that trend set by Novo and then again by Lilly.
And one thing that we haven't talked about is whether the consumer is willing to trade off less weight loss to take an oral pill, or continue with the more weight loss but have to, poke themselves once a week. Because what I'm noticing, correct me if I'm wrong, the oral drugs here have less total weight loss than some of the injections. Am I correct on that?
I can't speak to specifics. What I'll say is I've noticed the rates seem to be lower when you're reading the results of the oral versus the shot. But I think, it probably comes down to choice. And I wonder if doctors actually put that out there to patients, like, hey, you can get the injectables, or if you don't like injectables, you can have a slower but still effective weight loss with an oral.
Very good point.
I think that might be the best solution, because if everything is tolerable, as long as things are FDA tested and approved, I don't see anything wrong with that. Maybe give it to the patients.
All right, thank you, Adira. I just want to look at the chart over here, Joey. So I want to point out something, that this actually spiked up. So the algos that read this initially liked it, and then some algos didn't. And Neil actually got a fill up here. He had a resting order that, that he didn't think two things about, and it actually filled. So that price spike up there initially from where it opened up at like 43, it popped up to 61. I don't know exactly where Neil got the fill, but he got it up here. So I just want to point that out. If you're looking at taking profits, the same advice that I give to you guys for these small cap gappers, they don't spend any prolonged time in any one area. Use these resting stops. You never know what you're going to get there. But Joey, this was a good technical level hold. Look at that double top back in March and May of 2023. We've come back into that 25. I don't really want to put too much weight on that area right there, because that's the April lows from the tariff what is it called?
Tariff turmoil?
Tariff turmoil, yeah. Tariff tantrum, that's the one. Yeah, so it was kind of a bit of a drop. So it did lose 25 momentarily, but yeah, I don't know, man. I might be buying this. I don't know. I'll take a small entry in it. Breaks down below 20. We'll take a $3-4 loss.
So you would grab VKT over Hims and Hers?
I will say Yes, because VKTX, Viking, actually makes them,
Yeah.
while Hims and Hers just kind of sells other people's products.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying?
okay.
Like,
I thought they came out with a cheaper alternative.
they
that
do,
they're
they
getting.
compound it, Joey, but they're not even supposed to be doing that. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the thing. Yeah. Let's go on to Home Depot. In case you didn't know, they reported earnings today. This company used to be looked as a bellwether for consumer spending. I don't know if it's like that anymore. EPS came in at 468, it missed. 471 was what the street was looking for on revenue of 45.28 billion. That also missed. The street was looking for 45.36. So miss on the top and bottom line right from the get-go. But they are profitable. They made 4.55 billion in profit on the quarter. That is nearly flat year over year, despite the fact that revenue did rise 5% year over year. The first time ever, Joseph. No. The first time since 2014, I should say, that Home Depot missed both on the top and bottom line. Usually they beat on one of them. They don't usually miss on both. That's the first time in 11 years plus that has happened. Comparable sales, a very important measure for retail. So stores that have been open for a year qualify on that comp. So when we say comparable sales, we're saying stores that have been open for a year, how did they do year over year on the quarter? And that's what we're talking about, which did rise 1% overall and 1.4% if you look specifically at the U.S., one of only 2 year-over-year gains in the last 11 quarters. That is not a good look. Sales trends improved sequentially, so they did improve a little bit in May, up 0.3%. They grew even more in June, 0.5%. Then you got the coup d'etat in July, up 3.3%. It shows, late momentum going to Q2. At least you get that momentum. They also have big ticket transactions, which also rose 2.6% year over year. And 12 of their 16 departments actually saw sales gains, so not a bad look. But they are changing their strategy. They used to rely on the do-it-yourselfer, Joey. Now they're relying on what they're calling pros. So let's talk about what that means. With housing turnover and mortgage rates still very weak, Home Depot is leaning more on the professional customer, the contractor, the builder, whoever, who now account for 55% of their sales. Compare that to the 45% for the do-it-yourselfer. The do-it-yourselfer used to be the large part, not the pro. So both the do-it-yourselfer, though, and the pro segment showed good year-over-year growth in Q2, relatively in line, according to the CFO, Joey. And with respect to tariffs, they're saying new U.S. tariffs in early August add risk. But really, the majority of shipments came in before the tariff hit, so they didn't pass it on. And they, at least for the moment, haven't raised their prices like Walmart, but that doesn't mean they won't in the future.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad that you brought up Walmart here, because we know that Walmart, they went by the model of, hey, 70% of our product is assembled in the United States. And then we know with the previous Home Depot report, they mentioned that they're going to be in trouble, and they're looking to kind of shift their concentration of where they're getting their products so they're not drastically hit from these tariffs. And maybe we'll start to see that displayed. But at the end of the day, 27% off of those April lows. You are starting to pull back a little bit, but I think just diversifying where they're importing goods is going to be really, really key for their next report.
Absolutely, yeah. They got to diversify. They got to make sure that they're going to come from tariff-friendly jurisdictions. That's well said there, Joey. Good thing pointed out. Adara, this was, if you look at the superficial parts of the report, you miss on the top and bottom line. It's not a good look, but there was some good things in there.
Yeah, I've said this before. I think lately this street has cared a lot more about comparable sales than anything else, because I think they show hey, are our existing consumers continuing to shop, right? Regardless of this shift with Home Depot between professional, towards professional from, the average everyday person. I think regardless of that shift, it shows people are still coming to the store, and we're actually getting more people coming to the store or more sales for the store. And so I think that's actually huge. I want to say one thing about the technicals quickly. So Home Depot, this pink line there, and I'll zoom in a bit if I can.
Is that AVWAP?
Earnings AVWAP. So look at that, guys. We bounce.
I love it.
We bounce. Then we Huaruk. Then where do we reject? Earnings AVWAP. So I am not Brian Shannon, by no means. You can see him, I believe, tonight with Sean and I in the market recap. But the point is, he knows what he's talking about with these earnings anchor VWAPs. Some people may know that I put these on everything, and this is why sometimes they're very respectful. Yeah, with regards to the report, I think the comparable sales is probably the biggest takeaway, and I would also argue the reason that it's up, despite that yucky report and the mid guidance.
Good point there. I didn't even see that it was up, to be honest
Well, I
with
think
you.
the guidance is reasonable considering.
The guidance was okay. I mean, it wasn't bad, but you just again, the first time since 2014, you miss on the top and bottom line. The stock is up.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you feel like maybe the market's priced in all the bad news already.
Yeah, possibly. But I think what we're seeing with a lot of companies as well, too, Sharif, is that the uncertainty that they're claiming just due to tariffs, and that's why I believe that's justifiable from what we're seeing from Home Depot.
I'm not even going to respond. All right, let's talk about Best Buy launching third-party marketplace. Not a big headline, but they're trying to take a page out of Walmart and I believe Amazon's playbook there. So Best Buy has launched a third-party marketplace on its website app, allowing shoppers to access new accessories, seasonal decor, sports collectibles, other items not previously sold by them, the retailer. The move mirrors Amazon and Walmart's model, where outside sellers, they handle the stock, they handle the shipping, they do the pricing, while Best Buy, for their part, they just sit back and they collect the commissions, baby. You want to use our website, you want to use our platform, we want 30%. No, I actually don't have any idea how much they're getting from that. But it's not a bad look here, looking to expand their marketplace, Joseph. We know that third-party sellers make a large portion of what's sold on Amazon, not maybe to the same extent as Walmart, but they're also expanding that third-party seller. Hey, there's the OG Randy. We don't have much time left on the show. Any comment here on Best Buy?
What is the
BBY?
Yeah, the BBY. There we go. I always get that mixed up with bed, but remember, what was it?
BBY.
Yeah, right. So you just take one more B out of there. As for tech sales, man, this is really tough. If you want to look at what you went down 47%, and this is a name that's just continuously lagging, I don't know what's going to get Best Buy great again. Maybe we can make Best Buy great again. But at the end of the day, you're only up, I shouldn't say only, that's quite a bit of a move. 38% off of those April lows. It's just not a name that I would necessarily be buying into. It's a tough retail space. Considering, as you mentioned, you can get so many things on Amazon now. And I don't know, did we have anything on their e-commerce? How's their e-commerce sector doing, Shalif? They're online
didn't actually
buying,
get to see anything
right?
like that.
Because
It was
we
just
know
that headline.
from an electronic standpoint, you got Amazon and then you got Walmart as well, too. That's just continuously grabbing share left, right, and center. So as for Best Buy, maybe a little bit of a tougher look.
Any comment, Adira, as we wind down the show on Best Buy? Do you like this third-party marketplace thing, or not really a needle mover for you?
We'll see. I don't know. We'll find out. I don't really know if anyone's really using Best Buy for electronics as much online. In my opinion, if I'm going to go to Best Buy, I'll just go in the store.
Yeah, same.
I order online from Best Buy. That being said, I think the market clearly likes this. We did have a nice gap up, and yes, we're not at day's highs. We're nicely above yesterday's lows. So, yeah, I mean, I think what I ultimately want to look at here is, does the market care? I think in this case, at least on the short term, the market did seem to care. So that's cool.
Good. All right, guys, it's been a hell of a good show. So happy to have Joey Options back, baby, in the driver's seat. We're going to be doing it freaking live all the way to the end of the show. Adira is off tomorrow, so no midday updates. All hell's going to break loose around here. Anytime
We'll
Adira's
do our best.
We'll do what we can, but we got to
maybe.
punch into trades, do the news, keep an eye on the chat. We can't see what Donald's doing all the time.
Screen one last time before we send it off to the boys. Tesla. Bang.
Bang. There it is.
Joey's back.
We're going to Adira at the big desk. She has news.
We're here, guys. I don't have many details on this, so when I get more, I'll let you